Validation, now I validate myself. Building inner strength, putting doubt up on the shelf. No more unnecessary drama, no more wasted time. Climbing higher constantly, making my own climb. Standing on higher ground, where excellence is found. My potential knows no bounds. Raising the bar, breaking ground. My network is my net worth. Choose your company wise. Surround yourself with eagles, not with sheep in disguise. Every interaction is a reflection of my brand. Quality over quantity, that's my personal command. Standing on higher ground, where excellence is found. My potential knows no bounds. Raising the bar, breaking ground. Whoa. I'm not just living, I'm manifesting my vision. Cutting through limitations with surgical precision. My expectations are my compass, my respect is my shield. To mediocrity and chaos, I will never yield. I'm manifesting my vision, cutting through limitations with surgical precision. My expectations are my compass, my respect is my shield. To mediocrity and chaos, I will never yield. Standing on higher ground, where excellence is found. My potential knows no bounds. Raising the bar, breaking ground. I'm not just living, I'm manifesting my vision. Cutting through limitations with surgical precision. My expectations are my compass, my respect is my shield. To mediocrity and chaos, I will never yield.
All right, how you doing, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome to This and That. I'm your host, Sander, where we're talking about this, that, and everything in between. Whew, it's been a long 24 hours. I tell you, this is one of them days where burnt out is burnt out since burnt out. But check this out. We have a pretty lengthy quantity of stuff for you guys for today. Let's start off by saying, hey, wow, dang, look at the glitch. All right, I had to let y'all catch up with me for a second. We're live 7 nights a week, and while we do not let the sunrise without going live, we do not always start on time, and that's why we ask you guys to like and subscribe, mash the reaction buttons while you're here, and then like the show and double check that membership that we have on the YouTube channel. So here on This and That, we cover different topics every night of the week. First and foremost, if you hit the notification button, you know what's going on at the top of the hour, which helps you with your capabilities of staying updated on things that we are tracking and giving you updated information on. Recognizing that every night of the week we have a different topic. We have Monday's questions and comments. Well, actually Sunday night is questions and comments from the fans. So when you guys have appropriately structured questions about what you guys got going on, I try to provide you guys with appropriate responses for that. Then we have on Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday, it's like business and politics style situations. But Monday, we talk about how politics negatively impacts your ability to make, save, and invest money. Today, Tuesday, is one of the days where we talk about different ways to make, save, and invest money. And today, we're going to be talking about different ways that you can work on getting yourself into government contracts and pay attention to some untapped government contracts, because that's money on the table that nobody really pays attention to. Then Wednesdays, we talk about different countries around the world that you can live in and potentially invest in. Thursday, Friday, Saturday, we give you personal development, self-improvement information, relationship topics, socialization, negotiations, building your brand, and then promotions, raises, retirement, forced retirement, severance packages, termination. And we talk to you guys about your 20, 30-year plan. It's always important for you to figure out where you want to be at in life in order for you to map out how to get there. You can't think of anything in life that you just stumbled upon it and was like, oh, you know what I mean? Nothing that you actually wanted. Things that special shout out to OG Kicks, things that happened that you wasn't expecting, things you didn't need. Those are things that you would say that, hey, I found this and now I want it. As opposed to situations where you actually stumble across it, or not stumble across it, you searched for it. If there's something that you really wanted in life, you actually go out there and you go get it. But that means that you got to know where it is in order to get it. So if you want a degree, you got to know which track to take in college. If you want a specific job that might require a degree, you have to know what degree the job requires. If you want to live in a specific city and you don't currently live in that city, you got to figure out how to get there. So you have a destination with most goals in life, and that destination requires you to build a plan to get there. And when it comes down to your retirement, it makes sense for you to start creating that plan today and figuring out how you're going to get to where you need to go to accomplish that task down the line. And not always do you have all the answers, but you have to remember that in order for you to know what questions to ask, you have to have foundational information to be able to ask questions. And that's one of the things that people don't realize about your ability to plan your future. If you know where you want to be at in life, right? But you don't know how to get there. You know where you are, and you know some of the fundamental things that needs to be accomplished in order to get to where you want to be at. Now, once you reach that level, now you can start figuring out what it is that you need to accomplish that. We call them prerequisites of college. If you want to get you a microbiology degree, you're probably going to have to take some biology classes. You know that in order to take biology classes, you're probably going to have to take some intro classes. In order to take those intro classes, you might have to have some math classes under your belt. These are all prerequisites. And in life, that's what everything is. It's going to be prerequisite, prerequisite, prerequisite. And if you start from today with what is the first thing you need to do before you get to the next thing that you need to do, you'll be able to start mapping things out. And a lot of times, like starting up a business, it's a plethora of different things that needs to be done at the same time, or at least they all have the same level of weight that of importance that you need to accomplish. Like when you're starting up a business, you got to have the business registration, you've got to have the tax identification number. You need to find a way to advertise your business. Where is it going to be located? Whether it's going to be online or if it's going to have a brick and mortar building. If it's going to have a brick and mortar building, how far away from you will it be? What's the size going to be? If it requires more than just where are you going to find people? All of these things come about. All of these things need to be done, but some of the first things that you need to set up is, what product am I selling? And who am I selling it to? So if you figure out one step at a time, you'll find yourself being able to map out a future that turns out to be very successful. Special shout out to Steven. Steven says, my old college is circulating a postcard with me holding up my degree on the front. I believe this makes me famous. High value man. Yeah, you have ironically become one of the spokespeople for the school. which should be a good thing because whenever you go back to that school, everybody's going to know who you are. So you're somewhat of a little celebrity in your college. Now, what are you going to do with that level of popularity? As an alumni, you could be able to go back to your old college and talk to some of the professors there and find out who has connections inside of the field that you're interested in so that you can network your way into communication with those individuals so that you can have an internship developed where you can shadow somebody and see how they do what they do, which even if you don't end up working for them, it gives you an idea of the things that you need to think about doing so that you can go to the next step with an actual plan. Because how do you interact with your client is part of how you get paid. What services do you provide that's different from somebody else? Or what skill set that you have that's the same as other people, but mastered in a different way? Like, how is your product different from the next person? And if it's exactly the same, how is your product more effective, affordably, or accessibility wise better than the next client? That's how you figure things out. Special shout out to Michael. He says a real Dr. Phil. Well, um, one of the reasons why I do this the way I do this is because part of it is first person accountability and taking responsibility. So uh, it's not about other people, it's about you. It's about why are you not doing what you need to do so you can be successful in your life, right? And that's a little bit more deep than a Dr. Phil moment because like therapists are going to make you stop and ask yourself, answer your own questions, and figure it out for yourself. Because a lot of times, uh, people have this problem with deflection, and they will avoid the topic, they will avoid the responsibility in Oh, you said not me, Steve. Well, Steve is going to be a regular Dr. Phil. He's because he's supposed to be in the psych field, so he should be a regular Dr. Phil. But the thing is that you have to think about like what choices are you making and why are you making those choices? When we were kids, we used to get in trouble when our parents asked us why did we say and do the things that we say and did, and we never knew what the correct answer was, and we would always tell our parents, I don't know. And the fact is that we got in more trouble because we acted instinctively without thinking about the consequences of our actions and of somebody else who was making a bad decision when we knew that that was a bad decision, but we went along with it anyway. And that was why we got in trouble, not because we did something wrong, right? Not a lot of us thought about that when we were kids. We just thought that we got in trouble. Our parents asked us a bunch of questions. That's part of discipline. We got whoopings, timeouts, grounded, all this other stuff. That's part of discipline. But before the beat down, the parent would ask you, why did you do that? Why did you say that? Why did you go there? It's understanding your logic. If it made sense, the consequences might not be as severe. Even when you go to court, if you go to court for any reason where you're the defendant, the judge is going to ask you these exact same questions. Why did you do that? What were you involved in? And throughout the scenario, if you're able to reflect on your situation and admit, yeah, I screwed up and I have no response for that, then the consequences are issued, right? But if you have a logical reason why you did what you did, you have a rational reason why you went where you went, and the situation just didn't work out the way you expected it to work out, that's when you have a teachable moment that's not getting you behind the whoop, because they're going to say, okay, well, you had an honorable thought process, but let me tell you how you should have handled that so that the consequences wouldn't be as severe, right? So yeah, Steven's going to be a regular Dr. Phil, but I do a Dr. Phil moment in here from the perspective of as adults, we still behave the same way. And I'm trying to get you guys to understand, hey, your life sucks because you allow it to suck. And that's the reason why there are things in your life that you wish didn't exist the way it does. And you have accepted it instead of putting forth effort to change it, when some of the things that you don't like are inside of your control. You can say, well, I'm financially challenged. I was born into this lifestyle, and I just don't make enough money on my job. The system is against me. But I have given you thousands of ways to start up businesses online where you could get paid from your computer while you're working your full-time job, so that you don't got to drive to another full-time job, where you can expand on your at-home job until you end up quitting the leave the house job, and then just work from home, saving gas money and stress getting to and from work. And you would find yourself with more free time at the house with the husband or wife and kids, and your life would be different in comparison to what it is right now, where you would be your own boss, which is less stress, right? But people are willing to accept, I'm always going to be poor. It's not always going to be like this. They might give themselves false senses of hope without putting any effort into changing that. But you guys got to understand, it doesn't work that way. Life is not going to get better for you because you're going to stay broke until some rich person comes up and says, you're no longer broke. I'm going to bless you with millions of dollars. That's not how this works. Michael says, do most parents ask their kids, if you can change your parents, would you? I don't think so. I'm familiar with a lot of parents saying, well, if you don't like my rules, you can get the F up out my house. I think that a lot of people, and then the parents do that thinking that the children are going to submit to the parents' authority, and because they're afraid to leave because, well, how am I going to take care of myself? I have to blah, 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 blah. But you got some kids that are bold to be like, shoot, I'll sleep outside on the sidewalk in the yard, just so that you don't tell me what to do. And that leads to the bad things happening to the daughters. That leads to bad things happening to the sons and criminal activity and all this other stuff. They get exposed to things that they shouldn't be exposed to because you're leveraging shelter and safety and security with submission to your authority. And that should never be a thing. You should never have the my house, my rules, and if you don't like it, get out choice for the child. It is unconditional. I don't care if it's your house. I'm your parent, and you do what I tell you to do until I no longer have breath in my body, because I'm going to be the one that's going to mentor you for your lifetime. So it's not going to be just because you're in my house. It is my rules. Because I am still alive, it is my rules, and you will follow my rules no matter where I am. Completely different narrative. Because what I'm going to give you is going to make you better. You will see the benefits of when you didn't follow my rules. I can tell you I told you so. And now you're going to follow my rules. Now, FX Trader says, have you considered the possibility of corrupt judges and police officers? Oh, there's plenty of them. There's plenty of them. But, even though there's a lot of like Michael said, there's corrupt people everywhere, especially in politics. Yeah, there's plenty of people that are corrupt. You have situations where police officers, just like that movie Life with Martin Lawrence and Eddie Murphy, where they'll put false charges on you, put you into the legal system, and you'll end up in a jail cell where they won't respect your rights. You'll end up in front of a judge that convicts you for something that had absolutely nothing to do with you. Now you're sitting in another jail cell with charges against you that you can't contest. No attorney that's in that county that's going to represent you. Yeah, you've got plenty of people that go to jail and spend 25, 30 years of their life in prison. And then some new law student trying to make a name for themselves, still in college, will find that case, uncover that case file, and prove that man's innocence 25 years after his life is over. Yeah, plenty of people get caught up in a system like that. Yes. But you know something though? Have you ever considered that one of the reasons why you're being exposed to a corrupt police officer is because you was in the wrong place at the wrong time, not doing what you were supposed to do? Because people who are minding their business, not causing no ruckus and not ruffling no feathers, is not getting pulled over every day. It's the one person that's going just a little bit too fast, parking their car in a place that they probably shouldn't have, standing too long in a place that they probably shouldn't be standing, talking to the wrong person when they should have been minding their business and going on down the road. And now that Johnny Law has come up there, Officer Tenpenny has showed up, now you're dealing with the consequences of your decisions to be involved in this situation. Then you find yourself in a situation where you're in front of a judge that doesn't have enough remorse to respect the fact that you got roped into some stuff, because the first bad mistake that you made was performing the action that allowed the officer to have probable cause to be in your spot. Think about, we talk about ICE agents on a regular basis. Think about them, and we're going to be talking about government contracts today, y'all. So make sure that y'all stay tuned. But think about the ICE officers format. I've had some people debate with me that ICE officers have the same rights to detain you and arrest you as police officers. No, they don't. Police officers are supposed to be enforcing the common laws. ICE officers are assigned to deportation. Their job is only to leave you alone. If you don't, deport you. That is their job. Their job is not to give you traffic tickets. Their job is not to clear the streets. Their job is not to do riot control. Their job is not to issue traffic tickets. They're not. If you're speeding, if anything, they can report you to a police officer. That's what an ICE agent is supposed to do. But an ICE agent is not supposed to detain you and search your car and all of this other stuff under the guise that because they have a badge and an assault rifle, that they have the right to do that. Their job is specifically to go and collect individuals that don't belong here. And they either have a list of names, which comes with photo identification, or they have a list of locations that have a large number of people that fit that description. So what will happen is they're either going to go to a specific address to collect a specific person, search warrant, arrest warrant situation, or they're going to specific businesses that are known for hiring illegal immigrants and then ID everybody at that location. In between their office and the drop zone, they have no legal right or responsibility to interact with the general population. However, if you decide to stand on the sidewalk and point your camera at federal agents, you are likely to get arrested. Is it right? No. Within reason of the law, you should be able to stand 20 feet or more away from the situation and monitor it. And since you are allowed to monitor it and you have the First Amendment right to record public service agents in the line of duty in public, you should be able to stand across the street from an arrest, zoom in with your camera, and record that arrest. But because human nature, I don't want you to record me doing my job just in case I'm not doing it right. That is going to have them assert their authority unnecessarily on you and force you to stop recording them, because while they have a level of immunity where if they make a bad decision on the job, they're not going to get in trouble for it if it's not on video. If it's on video, the likelihood of their immunity disappearing is a whole lot higher. So they're going to pressure you to not document their actions on the streets. I had somebody I was talking to yesterday, the day before yesterday, when we was watching a Malcolm X clip where the guys were out there. I think it was like 15 or 20 guys came 3 cars deep on an arrest. They stood out there with, everybody had a shotgun, and they were standing there watching the police arrest the guy. They were not going to stop the police from arresting the guy. If the guy commits a crime, he should go to jail, but you shouldn't have to beat him up to take him to jail. So they stood there and they made sure that the police did not unnecessarily rough that guy up to take that guy to jail. And we had a conversation about that video clip because people thought, oh, we don't have the Black Panther Party anymore. There's not as many people out there. What we don't have is the knowledge of the law, and we don't have first-person accountability, and we don't have the constitutional right that is afforded to us for Good Samaritan laws to protect ourselves against corrupt police officers by monitoring their behavior, which is our constitutional right to do, and then reporting it to higher authorities to put a stop to the small number of bad cops that makes a large number of good cops look bad. We should not be terrified of police, but we're terrified of police because the one cop out of 5 that'll beat up a civilian for no reason, where the other 4 will watch it and then help him detain the guy and bring him to jail because they were taught to stick together. We were taught every man for himself. There's 200-300 of us watching 5 people beat up one guy. When did that ever happen on the schoolyard? If there was 40 of us and we seen somebody getting jumped unnecessarily, people started jumping in. That turned into a riot. These days, we will sit there and watch injustice and not say nothing. If anything, we'll record it and put it up on social media. But we won't get in there. Citizens arrest gives us a right to do certain things. Now, you cannot interfere with the police officer's line of duty, but why are we not all out there? 75 people with a cell phone and a rifle. Why not? Why not? If a police officer pulls up five cops deep and we had 20 civilians out there with long barrel 16-inch rifles and video cameras on that traffic stop, them 5 cops would behave themselves because it's 2-to-1. They can't bring enough police force because 1% of the population is law enforcement. Less than 1% of the population is law enforcement. In every city and state, out of 5 million people, you might find 5,000 police officers. Less. So ultimately, in every scenario where there's an injustice happening with a police officer, there's likely could have been the 5 cops there, 40 armed civilians to make sure that those police officers behave themselves. Because all it takes is for 40 armed civilians to surround that scenario 40 feet away from a scenario where you're not interfering, and you be able to articulate clearly from across the way, hey, you don't need to hit them like that, bro. They see all them firearms, they not gonna hit them. They'll put them in the car and rough them up at the station, but they're not gonna hit them on the street. It really, it makes you think. But if we drive down the street and we see a person on the side of the road, they got pulled over, and there's 5 or 7 cars behind that person, we don't slow down. We don't stop. But if you got 1 civilian in the car and you got 5 police officers behind them, we should have 10 civilians pull over and record that situation. The police will behave. If that became common practice, the police will behave. Before we got to the corrupt judge, because you got to understand, in order to get to the corrupt judge, you had to experience the corrupt police officer. So this is still going to boil down to first person accountability. Then you also have to recognize that when you're dealing with, it's voting season, y'all. All year, it's voting season. Jesse was just up here talking about different politicians in different states on Sunday that's voting for different stuff. It's voting season. Vote in a new police chief. Vote in a new sheriff. Run for sheriff. Run for police chief. Vote in a new mayor. Vote somebody in that's going to make the violence stop. You see how Kane got rid of the flock cameras. Vote people like that, and it's going to say, hey, I'm not going to let us get any more press than what we've already been. That's how you put a stop to it. So it's first person accountability. So we can't blame somebody else's bad decisions for our ability to allow the situation to get that far to where our decisions no longer impact the outcome of the situation. And that's something that we've got to change in our decision making. So when we was kids and mom and dad said, why did you do what you do? And you said, I don't know. As adults, I got to ask you, why are you doing the things that you do them in order for your life to not be what you want it to be? And most people's response to that, it's not me, it's somebody else. No, bro, it's you. Catherine, special shout out to Catherine. She says, I got a speeding ticket on my birthday and was a trap. Well, get a chauffeur. X-Trader says there's a lot of videos showing the police telling people that it's illegal to take a video. If the police doesn't know the law, who does? Well, see, that's the problem. How many, when we were talking about the Black Panther thing, and guys, we're going to get into this government thing in a second. But when we talked about the Black Panther movie, the Malcolm X movie, with the Black Panthers out there in the streets, they took it upon themselves to learn the laws. So they learned how they had the legal right to travel with firearms, with ammunition, without breaking the law, so that they can get out of those vehicles with firearms in hand without breaking the law, so that they can approach police officers with firearms in hand without breaking the law, so that they can protect their city without breaking the law. Now, those men did that, what, 30, 40 years ago, 50 years ago? We today don't know because we choose not to. And then you have to understand, everybody wants a police officer to spend 5 years in police academy college so that they can learn every law in the law books. At the end of the day, it's a social interaction job. Their job is to look and see anything that looks unusual. It doesn't have to be right or wrong. It just has to be uncommon. And then after that, they have to investigate if that uncommon action is against the law. While they're investigating it, you can't go nowhere. It's called the detention. So if it looks strange, whether it's legal or not, I have to make sure that you're not breaking the law. That's the reasonable articulable suspicion, is that suspicion of, I think you might be committing X, Y, and Z crime, but I'm not sure yet. I got to check my law books. I got to do some research, blah, blah, blah. You can't go nowhere. Now, you got to understand, these days, they detain you on the street and decide if they're going to let you go or if they're going to take you straight to jail. Back in the day, they had a 72-hour window of detainment. If you were suspicious, they could pick you up off the street, bring you to the police station, keep you there for 72 hours. And if they prove that you committed a crime, you stay in jail. And if they prove that you didn't, they let you go. That's the way the laws are written, but that's not how the laws are enforced. So while we're inconvenienced for that hour traffic stop or for that hour conversation with a police officer on the side of the road, you could have been sitting in a holding cell for 3 days with no phone call, because you have a right to a phone call after you've been arrested. You don't have a right to a phone call while you're detained. You have a right to a lawyer while you're being questioned. So that they don't talk about that part. So if you took the opportunity to know what laws you can, and this goes back to the fundamental core issues that I teach you guys. Always, first and foremost, do what you know is right. However, you must stand up for what you believe in by any means necessary. Which means that if you are going to do something that you know is wrong because you believe that that's what you need to do that by any means necessary. But you must, the third rule that I always tell you guys is you must accept the consequences of your actions before you perform the action, which means in order for you to accept the consequences, you must know what the consequences are. Police officers' job is to enforce laws that they don't know. Your job is to know what laws qualify you to do what you're doing. And you see a lot of people having the legal debate on the sidewalk with the police officer instead of having that legal debate with an attorney in front of a judge, because if you can articulate a law that explains to the officer that you're not breaking the law, the officer can't do anything else. So it's your responsibility to know the law, not the police officer. It's their responsibility to seek and apprehend. That's their constitutional responsibility. So if they're seeking and apprehending, you have to be able to prove to them in the moment that you can't apprehend me. Just like with the ICE agents. The ICE agent's job is not to issue traffic tickets. It's not to break up disturbing peace. It's not to disband riots. It is to seek and apprehend illegal immigrants. So the beginning of your conversation with a police officer, with an ICE agent, where people are like, oh, I'm an American citizen, I have the right to not ID. No, when an ICE agent walks up, the first thing you need to do is show them your American passport. And then you can talk trash to them for the rest of the encounter, because their job was to make sure that you're an American citizen. And that is the limit of their encounter with you. Once you prove that you're an American citizen, you don't got to talk to them no more. So I tell people, get you a passport card. Why get a passport card? Because police officers and federal agents can cause hell for you. So what you do, you show them an identification card that does not have an address on it. That's your passport card. Don't give them your driver's license. Don't give them your state ID. You give them your passport card. ICE agents are not equipped with the legal right to check your vehicle registration and car insurance. Their job is deportation. Their job is not traffic laws. So they pull you over in a car, show them your passport. That's it. That's it. It's going to have your name, your citizenship status, and the 10-year expiration date on that card. That's it. As soon as you show them that, I ain't got nothing else to say to you. Matter of fact, these days, if you got your passport card in one of those ID holders and have it hanging off your chest, when ICE agents show up, you could flash that like police flash a undercover cop badge, flash that passport card. That's it. We ain't got no. I don't even know why you're talking to me. You already seen my passport. If the conversation on the recording is I don't know what you're talking to me for. You've already seen my passport. That means your job is done. You verified I'm an American citizen. So as an ICE agent, why are you engaging me? See, people don't think about that. Oh, I don't have to show you nothing. I'm an American citizen. My Fourth Amendment, my Fifth Amendment, my 14th Amendment. But yes, if he can't verify that you're an American citizen, though, while you're barking American rights, he can't prove you're an American citizen. He can detain you with a CIA black site until he proves that you're an American citizen. Michael says define personal space. Truth be told, Michael, anything less than 10 feet is encroachment on personal space. Because like if I can breathe your breath, that's personal space. 10 to arm's length is appropriate personal space. If I can't touch you when I pick up my hands, if I can't touch you with a weapon, if I pick up my hands, you're outside of my personal space. If I can move my hands and my hands are on you, you are in my personal space. And some police officers like to invade your personal space, and then if you put your hands on them to put distance between, try to ask you for hands on an officer, slam police officers and walk out of the courtroom because they're like, you shouldn't have touched them. Michael says, how close would you say is your personal space, especially with the person with the camera? First of all, people with cameras are supposed to not be in your face. You see paparazzi all over the place, and they be like, you push through the paparazzi, and that's why they're all over you with the camera. The paparazzi is at the door. The paparazzi is not in your face at your house. They're at the edge of your driveway, right? So personal space, for any reason, that personal space is usually a situation where, like I said, 5 feet. If they've got a camera, they've got Zoom capabilities, they've got microphones. So he says, even if they follow you into a post, they can follow you wherever, bro. I'm gonna tell you right now, if I was on the sidewalk and I was going anywhere, if I got out of my car and I was going anywhere, and some First Amendment auditors was walking around with video cameras, come on, let's go. I got my own PR team now, bro. I would help you invade this scenario because instead of you recording them, you would be recording me while I'm in there. So now your excuse is I'm not recording the facility, I'm recording him while he's in the facility and he has consented to it. I'll be giving them an in. I'll be giving them an in because it's uncomfortable to say that, oh, they're just standing here recording a government building. No, I'm recording a civilian as he goes into the government building with his consent. And that two-party consent allows us to walk into that building with a video camera. I be the subject of their recording. We can walk all over wherever I'm legally allowed to record it. And whatever they get while I'm in there, they can get it because within reason, you can record anybody with consent and any government agent that's involved. So, you know, if I got out the car and they were over there, I'd be doing all kind of stuff. Oh yeah, come on! I give you a tour. We could do a documentary. Catherine says I was going to an appointment was a long time ago, and anyhow was a speed trap to go from 34 to 15 after a corner. Ma'am, you do realize that if you're going 34 miles an hour and you're banking a corner, that they're going to reduce that speed to 20 miles an hour. So you understand that the fact that if you're making a turn on some roads, that's not a speed trap, man. That is the recommended safety speed that you're supposed to go in that area. While your car, with its performance and its traction and handling, can take that turn a whole lot faster than recommended, they projected that speed as a recommendation so that you don't veer off the road or crash into somebody else. So basically, you were speeding and they gave you a ticket. He said, invoke your Fifth Amendment right. You only invoke your Fifth Amendment rights to prevent from incriminating yourself in a discussion with police officers. He says, don't consent to any searches and seizures. Right. You don't consent to any searches and seizures. I'm a little bit more aggressive on it. Not only am I not going to not consent to searches and seizures, I'm not going to cooperate with the search, and I'm not going to cooperate with the seizure, and that may escalate to a conflict. And I will lay my life down to that not searching and not seizing. Unless you have effectively arrested me first, where I can't resist. If I'm not arrested, I will resist. And I'm not a runner. So in a fight or flight response, all you got left is throwing hands. She said, well, I turned a corner and, well, it's impossible to slow down. No, it's not. He said, the point is that's in Canada on my birthday. No, it's not. It's not impossible to slow down. It's possible for you to slow down. You choose to maintain that speed and it was impossible for you to modify your speed as it related to the new speed sign. But you were going a certain speed, and you have the defensive driving experience from driving school that tells you to slow down before a turn. So if you were going 34, you should have been able to take your foot off of the gas and allow your car to reduce its speed as it went around that corner, which means you might have been at 20 miles an hour by the time you saw that sign, which you could have allowed yourself to keep your foot off of the gas as you made that corner. And the law allows you, I do believe, 500 feet or more after the sign in order for your speed to adjust. So by the time you got pulled over, you should have been doing 10 to 15, but you decided to maintain 34 throughout the turn and maintain 34 more than 500 feet into the new zone, which qualified you for the citation. It was just poor decision making. Because I've never seen ICE agent. I haven't experienced one in person either. He says, I leave a pretty small town though. Yeah. He says, do you think the color of your skin matters? No, I don't. I think social classism matters. I believe that the fact of and we're going to get into today's show now, because now you're starting to veer off into something completely different, which is in a sense inappropriate for today's show because we're supposed to be talking about government contracts. So government ICE agents is a government contract, but race colors is like, it's a ridiculous topic in my observation, because you are not going to be treated badly because of the color of your skin. A lot of the times it does still happen, but more often than not, you're going to have women that are going to treat men bad because they're men, right? Then you're going to have women that are going to claim that they're being treated bad by men because they don't get what they want, right? Then you're going to have people that are poor that's going to get treated bad by people who got more power and authority and more money to do more things. So you have poor people complaining that they don't have the freedom to do as much stuff because they just can't afford to do that stuff, right? But it's not going to be a situation where society is still designed in 2026 to treat black people bad because they're black. No, it's social classism. Matter of fact, police officers are going to be more violent in more violent neighborhoods. More violent neighborhoods are usually the low income neighborhoods, bottom 25 percentile. You could do the same speeding ticket scenario in a low income neighborhood and have SWAT come on your car versus doing that same speeding scenario in Malibu where the cop is like, oh, just slow it down, buddy. Have a good day. It's not because of the color of your skin. It's because experience. Usually in a low income neighborhood, when the police officers show up, police have to experience resistance and a lot of times violence and retaliation to the traffic stop. As a result, they're going to come more aggressively because they are taught in a police academy to act, not react. Therefore, their ability to stereotype, which is racism, and have a predisposed disposition, stereotypically, they're going to assume based on the area that we're in, the vehicle that you're in, the color of your skin, your gender, your perceived age, that you're probably going to behave like this. That's what I've experienced in my history. Therefore, that's how I'm going to act. I'm going to act as if you're going to be overly aggressive. And then when I find out that you're not, I'm going to change my attitude. So I'm going to start at a 10 and dial it down to a 2, depending on how you react to me. That's how law enforcement is. So if they're used to traffic stops where they're getting shot at from the passenger side window, they're going to walk up on those vehicles, guns drawn. Why? Not because you did anything, but because they've been shot at 7 or 8 times in the past month on a traffic stop. It's experience. But you could have 30 guns in the back seat looking like children in car seats. And a person who's never had to deal with a negative experience in a traffic stop will walk up on your vehicle, hands nowhere near his gun, and be like, oh, that looks cute. You got one of the firearms with a pacifier. That's awesome. As opposed to the one that was shot at multiple times, like, oh my God, I need backup. He's got like 30 guns in the truck. Because it's based off of experience. She says, it was a school zone. Doesn't it specifically because it was a school zone that you're referring to? If you live in these areas, you're traveling. If you're not from that area, you're not supposed to be driving as fast as you would be driving if you're from that area, first and foremost. But if you're from that area, you should know where all the schools, the speed zones change outside of your favor, and you should be smart enough to reach your speed before it compromises you. You're used to driving through that area and no cops being in that area, so you're used to ignoring the speed signs because no cops are in that area. Who's going to stop you if no one's there to report you? The one time that they were there, they caught you, and now you're trying to say, oh, well, you know, it was a trap, they caught me. No, you were irresponsible in that situation, and you messed up. There were signs that were posted long before you got a driver's license that said what the speed was, and you passed that sign, and you were not going that speed. You broke the law, and a police officer, that's not a trap. A trap would be a police officer hiding in the bushes, coming out of nowhere, trying to give you a citation for nothing. That's a trap. A trap would be a police officer flagging you down and then telling you that I smell alcohol and I smell weed when they don't, putting drug dogs on your car when you're not a smoker and you haven't had anything to drink, not water, not soda, not anything in the last 12 hours. That's a trap. But you, ma'am, were speeding. But the lack of responsibility is that you're going to blame somebody else because you were irresponsible and you got caught being irresponsible. That's what happened. It says impossible to do this. I clocked at 1 kilometer per hour and got a ticket. Yep, and you got a ticket because you were speeding in the wrong spot. That was on you. It was a corner and was 1 kilometer at the and they catch them. Hey, now you know in that kilometer that you should already be below 15 miles an hour so that when you cross that threshold that you don't get got. Learning is half the battle, man. Now, let's go ahead and get on to today's show because we were supposed to be talking about more important stuff. Catherine always comes in and derails the show to something that has absolutely nothing to do with the topic at hand. So it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. You're saying it's 1 kilometer per hour is possible to do that there. The fact is that if there's a speed sign that says 1 kilometer per hour, you're supposed to do 1 kilometer per hour. It doesn't matter. You could say it's 0.5 kilometers per hour. It could say 50 feet per second. Whatever the fact is that if there's a sign, you said you passed a sign, there's a sign. The sign was posted by the city long before you got a driver's license. That means that it was a pre-expected requirement in that location. You passed that location, didn't meet the requirement, you got a citation. You were in the wrong in that situation. That's not a trap. Okay. You also got to recognize we got technology now. We have GPS. GPS tells us what the posted projected speed signs are supposed to be. If you look at the GPS on Google Maps, it tells you what speed signs are supposed to be. Most people don't know where they're going. They don't read road maps. They put their destination into a GPS. So if you look down at your cell phone, it tells you what the speed is supposed to be at, and you're not going at speed. It's still on you, ma'am. There's no excuses there. He said, what do you want? I told y'all at the beginning of the show 45 minutes ago that we're talking about government contracts. So you talking about your speeding is not government contracts. He says, thus was way before it goes, hey, you didn't do what you were supposed to do and you got caught in the moment. That's how life goes. If you're not doing what you're supposed to do and you get caught doing that, because constitutionally we have the right to do whatever we want to do in this country as long as we don't cause harm to somebody else or somebody else's stuff. However, the line between what I'm allowed to do and what you're allowed to tolerate is not written in the Constitution, because you do stuff legally which disrespects me and to ask you to not disrespect me. Now, there's no law that says that I can force you to stop disrespecting me, but the law says that constitutionally you're allowed to disrespect me. Now, I believe that I'm entitled to respect, but you don't have to respect me. That's where we have social indifference. At the end of the day, if nobody reports me disrespecting people, I don't have to deal with law enforcement telling me to respect people. If you're not following traffic laws and nobody reports it, you don't have to follow the traffic laws. You can go into a hospital with a firearm if nobody sees a firearm. But if they find a firearm, you can get into a lot of trouble. You can go into a courthouse with a weapon as long as nobody finds a weapon. But if they find a weapon, you can get in trouble. You can travel with unauthorized contraband on a plane. As long as nobody finds it, you're okay. But as soon as they find it, you're in trouble. You understand? You can evade taxes for 25, 30 years, but as soon as they find out that you were hiding money that they should have known about, you're in court for it. The Constitution allows for you, as long as nobody's willing to step up and say anything about it, you know. So when you got caught, man, mama always said that you doing it too much when you get in trouble for it. So if you riding around and you get pulled over, you get a traffic ticket because you're driving fast, you drive fast too much. That's what that means. Slow down. You said, what do I want to know? I don't want to know anything. I am telling you guys about government contracts. This is about you asking me questions about how you can improve your life from your bad decisions. This isn't me asking you guys about anything except for why are you continuing to make bad decisions with knowledge, knowing that those bad decisions will compromise your objectives and your goals and your agenda. That's the only thing I want to know is why do you deliberately allow yourself to be in a compromising situation so that you can then come back and make it seem like it's a conspiracy that the government, and you got to understand, the government is not a real life entity. The government is a model of a group of people who do not know you. They make policies that you don't have to apply to, you don't have to follow. And then if you don't follow those policies and the right person finds out about it, that person can report you, and then you might end up in trouble for not following those policies, right? So the government isn't keeping you down, you're keeping you down. So I have to ask, why do you allow yourself to be in situations where you are getting in trouble with your bad decisions that is negatively impacting your life? Okay, that's the only question that I want to know. Because anything that's going on in my life that I know is negatively impacting my ability to achieve my goals that is inside of my control, I am going to proactively change that. Sometimes things might take time, like fixing your credit. Sometimes it might take time, like getting a better paying job or building a business from the ground up. Sometimes it might take time, like getting rid of a DUI, going to traffic school, all of this other stuff. Sometimes it might take time, like paying child support for 20 years. But at the end of the day, you have to do what it takes to change the things that you don't like about your life. And then you want to proactively put forth checks and balances in place to prevent you from re-experiencing the same stuff. So you got pulled over for speeding, don't speed. That prevents you from getting put over for speeding. He says, what do you want to know about government contracts? Again, I don't have any questions. I'm providing you with answers. So you can't change the this isn't a situation where you're going to reverse psychology, ask me questions. I'm telling you stuff that you don't know, that is common knowledge that you should know, but you don't know because most people don't try to find out. One of the reasons why women say, oh, well, men get paid more money than women, there's a wage gap. No, men get paid for the specific job title, and they get paid a specific amount of money for the specific skill set, and a lot of times hazard pay because a lot of those jobs are dangerous. Women pick jobs that are easy. Women pick jobs that are not physically strenuous. Women pick jobs that are not always mentally strenuous, and those jobs don't always pay. Jobs in hospitality are not nearly as profitable as engineering jobs, oil rig jobs, technology jobs. A lot more women are in nursing, teaching, and other such fields. A lot less women working on oil refineries. A lot less women working for Elon Musk and tech companies. More than 80% of college is women, but more than 80% of women are in the College of Arts and Science. So it's not that there's a fundamental wage gap because women are getting paid less to do the exact same job that men do. Women are getting paid less because they work less, they take off more, and they choose jobs that don't pay as much. That is poor choice. Just like when Sterling, who's a man, came onto the show and complained about not getting enough money from Walmart. But they told him what they were offering for the job. He accepted it. He took the pay. So if you don't like the pay from Walmart, go work at Publix. Publix pays more. He's complaining about something he can change. Denial. I don't make bad decisions. Yes, ma'am, you do. You got a traffic ticket for speeding. That was a bad decision. I remember you from another show where you got divorced. You had some bad decisions in the last relationship you were in, because it wasn't all his fault. There were things in that relationship that you either did or did not do that led to your divorce. It takes two people to mess up the relationship, not one. You might have been the one to choose the divorce, but or he might have been the one to allow you to walk away from the relationship, but both of you contributed to the failure of your last marriage. So you make bad decisions. You just don't own up to them. You said not understanding you are going for. Well, you're not understanding what I'm going for because I am about to give you guys information about government contracts. It's just taking a while because I'm responding to a lot of your comments. Those of y'all that's popping in from TikTok, make sure that y'all like and subscribe and mash those reaction buttons while y'all are here. She says, oh, I don't get it. What do you know then? Let's see. It's like 85 pages of what I know that I haven't touched base on yet. Because I understand, I never understood why men get paid more. Men do not get paid more. Women choose jobs that pay less. Take, for example, a restaurant. The men get paid more money in the restaurant than women because the men are in the kitchen as cooks, dishwashers, busboys. Those people get paid hourly wage workers. The cooks usually get paid more money than the dishwasher. The head cook gets paid more than the pantry cook. Okay, so there's levels to this stuff, right? Now, the server, usually women, not by design of the business. Women are usually not in the kitchen. Out of every restaurant's working staff, you might have one female dishwasher and one female cook, and the rest of the kitchen staff is dudes. Out of the bus boys, you might find one female bus boy or bus girl who's training to be a server or a bartender, and the rest of the bus boys are boys. That's why the job is called bus boys, because the boys come up with the bucket and bust the tables and take all the stuff and bring it back to the dishwasher, right? Now, the majority of servers are women because they're attractive. They're gonna bring the food to the table and get paid for that. That's it. Take down the order, bring it to the cook, take the order from the cook, bring it to the table, get paid for that. More women choose, and you got, guess what? Front door, hostess. Hostess. More often than not, female. Easiest job in the building. Stand there, wait for somebody to walk in, show them where to sit, and then go back. Now, out of that whole restaurant, the back of the house is usually men. The front of the house is usually women. Men get paid more than women because the men are getting paid by the hour. The women are getting paid by the tips. Women start off the tips at half of minimum wage. They have to make more money in tips than what the hourly wage worker has to work in hours in order to offset the wage gap. So if you're trying to make $15 an hour and you're starting your pay scale at $2.15 an hour, you're going to have to make like $12.50 or whatever per hour in tips in order to make minimum wage. So if you're getting $20 an hour in tips, which requires you to get like $2 to $5 per person off of every table that you have for the entire shift, you got to really be hustling to get minimum wage. Now, if you're not getting $2 to $5 a person per tips, you're not making that minimum wage. The business is going to offset, but the cook is making $15, $20, $30 an hour to make the food. Now, women are going to say, oh, well, you know, we're in a restaurant, man's making more money because he chose to be the cook. If you stop waiting tables and go back there and do the hard stuff, you get paid more. Just information that you have gotten. Yes, I do research every single day about every single topic that I cover. And a culmination of knowledge from 3 years of researching things, where I piece together this information and then I provide the information to you so that you guys can know about things that you originally didn't know existed. And it's existed for years. Everything I provide you guys is backed by research, backed by facts. And the only thing that people do is disagree with what I say because of how they feel. Michael is the only person that talks to me about facts. Steve is the only person that talks to me about facts, where Michael will contradict a fact with a fact that he's aware of from 45 years ago, and I correct Michael with facts that I have from the last 6 months. Steven throws me facts that I might not have been aware of when we're talking about some of the stocks. Oh, Steven, if you're still here, by the way, stock party today, bro. Stock party. So you got to go in there and go grab you some free stocks from Stash App, bro. I just, he'll tell me about some stuff. And then I'll do some research to verify what he said and dive on it. He's provided me with two very valuable stocks that I've added to my portfolio when I have provided 54 stocks to him to make a portfolio. So it's information that I've gotten from doing extensive research. Is that I had a design job and ran the company, and I got paid less than the computer guy. Right, because the computers are more important than the designer. You chose the wrong job. You should have been the computer girl, and you would have got paid the same amount of money as a computer guy. That was your choice, which again, your accountability, not the company depriving you because you're a woman, and not the company favoring the guy because he's a man, because you chose the job position inside of the company that paid less than the other job position. Tech position will always pay more than any other position in the company, because tech positions are either going to be filing all of the data in order for you to communicate with the customers, or security to protect the data that you've put into the system. Either way, the tech is going to get more information than a tech is going to get paid more than any other position in the company. Because as a designer, you can't use the technology to design something if the computers don't work. So the computer guy is going to get paid more. He said 3 years, have done 35 years of research. It's amazing that you've done 35 years of research and you be over here talking to me like you have not seen the inside of a book. Because I know that I've done years of research in college, and I'm gonna be real with you. I'm gonna be honest with you, man. I've done years of college. I put in a whole decade of my life to going to college, and since I got out of college, I've been doing research about a lot of different things. I started up 3 different businesses, and here I am on a podcast where I, for the last 3 years of this podcast, have been researching a different topic every day for this podcast specifically. So just because 35 years of your life, you've looked into the things that you like, doesn't change the fact that the topics that I talk about on this channel, have you even ever seen or heard about? Because this is stuff that you didn't know existed, because this wasn't part of what you pay attention to. The same way you didn't pay attention to that traffic sign on the way you went around that corner and got that traffic ticket. Okay, Steven, I want to make sure that you get that stock party, because I seen it earlier today. He said, "What, are you serious?" Yes, I'm serious. I don't play games. I don't joke. And I try my best not to belittle people as much as possible. She said they were processing what I gave them. Okay, so processing what you gave them, the computing power for you to do your job is more important than you doing your job, because without the computing power to do your job, you can't do your job. Their job is more important than yours. They're getting paid more money than you. If you would have been doing their job and they were doing your job, you would have gotten their pay and they would have gotten your pay. It's not because of your gender. It is because of the job title. That was your choice, not the company's. The company puts a price on it and you accept the price. You don't like the price when you find out somebody else in the same location accepted a higher price. That was your choice though, not the company. He said, "I'm 54 years old and I know and I have a degree." Okay, so that puts you 14 years older than me, 13 years older than me, which means that you've had more time to learn about things than I have had, and yet I am here teaching you. So, oh, and then again, you also have to understand, a woman's degree doesn't matter. First of all, anybody's degree doesn't matter, but a woman's degree doesn't matter because women are not expected to know stuff. Men are expected to know stuff. So if you know something, I'm glad. But the throwing of the degree does not bring value to the lack of knowledge in the conversation, right? Oh my God, look, hey, it's real. You don't have to like that. Okay, societally speaking, women are expected to be nurturers, so it's okay for women to be around children, but it's not okay for men to be around children. A man can be around a child for legitimate reasons, and all women are going to treat him like a creep. A man can be in a public park reading a newspaper, minding his business, but because there's 5 kids on a swing set in front of him, the women are going to treat him like a creep. Women have certain social roles that are expected upon them socially, that they're okay, and those roles don't require them to have degrees. Women get degrees because they're taught to replace the man in their life and be a provider for themselves and don't depend on the man. But you don't need an education to be successful in life if you found a successful man. A man needs to be successful because no woman will be with a man that's not successful. So he has to be smart. He has to be capable. He has to be qualifiable. She has to be attractive, cooperative, and compliant. In modern times, she doesn't even have to do that. She just has to sleep with a guy and she can get everything that she needs. All she has to do is pick the right guy. So yes, your education is not valuable. It's valuable to you personally, but societally it's not, because no one in society expects a woman to know stuff. When she knows stuff, it's like, oh, okay, she knows stuff, which doesn't take any value away from the fact that you went to college and learned stuff. It's just the fact that societally, if a man doesn't know something, everybody's wondering, well, what's this loser doing here because he doesn't know? If she doesn't know, oh, it's okay, she's a girl. She says, so 2 degrees do not matter. No, ma'am. You can have 2 degrees, 3 PhDs, and because you're a woman, it doesn't matter. I can have 2 degrees or 3 PhDs, and women are going to say, oh, I'm valuable. You got to understand, right? You got to understand, women gauge their value based on what women value in a man. Therefore, as a woman, you believe that you have more value because you meet more of your expectations to be a man. You're very smart. You have 2 or 3 degrees. You're very capable. You have a good job. You are self-sufficient to yourself, but that is qualifications that a man is supposed to have. Now, if you have become the perfect man, you are going to say that you are a very valuable woman in society, but you're not, because from the perspective of society, a woman's responsibility would be in line with aiding the man, and your responsibilities of reproduction, which you can't do at 54 or less likely to do at 54, and your responsibilities to cooperate and comply with the man's expectations, which has nothing to do with your education. You don't have to bring money into your relationship to be valuable. You have to bring cooperation and participation into your relationship to be valuable. So your job is irrelevant to your value in society. My job is relevant to my value in society, because if I don't have a good job, I'm considered a broke ass dude, and no woman is going to have value in me because I, as a man, am not wealthy enough to support a woman and kids. But these are social roles, okay? And you don't have to like it, but this is the truth, So if I call myself going places and doing things for my looks, you know what I mean, I wouldn't get very far. This podcast is not as successful as it is because I'm attractive. This podcast is as successful as it is because I'm smart and I provide valuable knowledge and information to the people who come to this podcast. People don't come here to look at me because I look attractive. But if I were a woman with all of this knowledge and I had my cleavage showing and tight clothes, this podcast would be blowing up. I would be going viral every day because I'm attractive. Then if I was smart too, I would have even more followers because I attracted people with my looks as a woman, and then they stayed for the knowledge. This podcast, I am a dude. I am not attracting anybody with my looks. They come on this podcast, listen to what I say, and within the first 1 to 5 minutes, they're like, oh, this man knows what he's talking about, and they stay and come back. And this is a male-driven podcast from the male's perspective, where the majority of followers that follow a woman are men lusting after the woman. The second group of women, the second group of followers that follow a woman is the women that support negative behavior. So the followers I have, majority male followers on my podcast, are following this podcast because they have value in the financial information that I release on this podcast, which has absolutely nothing to do with whether or not I look good. You said, no, I'm not kidding you. You said, I don't need anything from a man. That doesn't matter. That doesn't matter. What matters is that your education is only relevant to you. Societally, a man that does not have knowledge is not valuable. Societally, a man that does not have a skill set is not valuable. Societally, a man that does not have the financial resources to support a family is not valuable. Societally, a woman that does not cooperate is not valuable. Societally, a woman that is not willing to aid a man is not valuable. Societally, a woman that's not willing to reproduce and provide a legacy for the man is not valuable. So your education is not valuable to your status as a woman. Your value as a woman is valued in your ability to cooperate with a man and your ability to aid that man and that man being successful and your ability to teach his children to be successful and inherit his legacy. That's your value. But if you don't want that value, if you want his responsibilities to be smart, to be capable, and all of this other stuff, you are a valuable man, not a valuable woman. So if I gauge you as what makes a woman valuable, I would have to look at you're not doing what it would take to be a valuable woman for the societal expectations. But that's not today's topic. Today's topic is governmental contracts. He says thermometers have degrees. Tell me about it, bro. My husband doesn't expect me to bring children. He has his. Doesn't change anything now. Doesn't change anything. There's I'm inheriting millions. Then what? Exactly. I love that comment. She's inheriting millions. She's not earning millions. I'm earning millions. Steven's earning millions. Michael's earning millions. Joe Jack's earning millions and giving it to his daughter and teaching his daughter how to do it. You, Catherine, are inheriting millions. That actually just proves my point. He said, well, then you will be a millionaire. Exactly. And look, a lot of the majority of women that have become millionaires have either inherited it or won it from divorce. Women do not become millionaires more often than not by building something from the ground up, starting with the last dollar that they found on the ground and making themselves a millionaire till the end of time. Men do that. Women get stuff from men and keep it. Women get into a relationship with a dude, and in that relationship with that dude, she will feel entitled to take half of his stuff. So if a woman dates 30 guys, she's going to have something from each one of those guys in her house. The car she drives might have been bought from her ex. Cell phone that she's got might have been bought from her ex. Some of the clothes that she's wearing might be bought from her ex. The house that she's in might be from her ex-husband. The majority of her lifestyle is built on the backs of all the men that she walked away from. There's a very and outside of that, the rest of them is going to be the stuff she got from mom and dad. But men don't get anything outside of the families that do inheritance stuff. Women get it all, but a man does not get anything out of each relationship that he's in. If he's in 30 relationships, he's left a lot of stuff with the woman. They break up, he left her with the house. They get a divorce, he leaves her with the house and the car. Leave her with the house, the car, the kids, and he's paying alimony. Every time a man breaks up, he has to start his life over. Women don't have to do all of that. That's what it is. That's what it all. So it's not the thing. There's no you aren't that good looking. Exactly. You're I'm not supposed to be good looking. I'm supposed to be smart. I'm supposed to be capable. I'm supposed to be because I have millions to give. But you didn't earn it. She says I learned too, but your knowledge isn't relevant. She says, oh my God, seriously, I walked away with nothing. You choose to walk away with nothing. A lot of men are bitter enough to walk away from the divorce with everything that they can carry and a U-Haul truck full of everything else they couldn't carry. He says you're the exception to the rule. She's not the exception to the rule. A lot of women are in denial. They're going to want to say, oh, that doesn't apply to me, right? But it always applies to them. They just don't want to admit it to the rest of the conversation. She already admitted that she's inheriting something that she didn't earn. So she has gotten involved in stuff where she gets stuff without having to perform. It does apply to her. She might have walked away from one marriage where her last husband had nothing for her to take and she left with nothing. But if she had a husband that had millions, she would have took $500,000 from him. She wouldn't walk away from $500,000 and say, "Oh, I don't want none of your stuff." She's not gonna pull a Dr. Dre and leave Death Row Records and make Aftermath and leave everything on the table. No, I invested in this marriage, blah 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 blah. I'm entitled to half because you were there. You slept with him, you put up with his attitude, and that you feel like you're entitled to half of everything he spent his whole life working for. That is what women believe. That's what all women believe, not some of the women. That's what all women believe. Because I sleep with the man and I put up with his attitude, I am entitled to half of everything he's got. Because if I wouldn't have put up with his attitude and I wouldn't have slept with the man, then I could have had a better life with another man. Not because I contributed to his career. I helped him go to college. I paved the way for him to make those millions. Not I raised his children to be successful too. It is because I gave him the best years of my life. That's what women say. Because I gave him the best years of my life, I'm entitled to half of his estate. But every woman that gets with a man finds him at a level and usually leaves him because he fell off of that level. Not because they built him up to be successful and he left them. 90% of women leave men, and they leave men because they are not satisfied with the man that they chose. And that is usually after they have spent months or years with a man that they did not build up at all. They want a prepackaged, pre-built man that is what they already want. They don't want to find a man with potential and build him into a successful man. They want a successful man out of the bubble wrap. And if he doesn't stay successful out of the bubble wrap, they will leave him for another man. Or if he is not successful enough, they will leave him for a more successful man. But she won't take his success and say, let me make you more successful. You're working on a job with management skills. If your job won't give you a promotion, let me find another job that will. Women don't do that. I'm not going to raise no man. I'm not his mama, is what women will say. But that is what good women used to do in the 40s, 50s, and 60s. So for you to be 54 years old back in 1965 and 1976, you know that your mom and your grandma was out there looking for their husbands and cooking and cleaning and taking care of the kids and giving their husband advice and managing the bills and budgeting things and all of the stuff that you see right now in 2026 that the modern 2026 woman doesn't want to do. But they still expect to get paid the same way. They still expect to be kept the same way. And they still expect a man to submit to her authority the same way. He said, man, you're brutally honest tonight, aren't you? Yes, sir. She started it because I'm supposed to be talking about government contracts. I got 85 pages to talk about the government contracts. And when Catherine comes in, she always comes in and talks about something that is not today's topic, even though there's a prompt at the beginning of logging in that says stay on topic. But I got to rip her a new one because she be coming from left field when she's not staying on topic. It's a trolling method, you know, but I got 3 more hours to be on this podcast. I'm going to get these 85 pages out, but she can't. And TikTok is loving it right now, so she can't to get ripped a new one. And I'm going to give it to her because she put herself in that position. That's the consequences of her actions. I can't let it go. I can't ignore the comment, you know. He said, I got out alive. I had nothing. And I had to do everything. And no, that is not what a woman believes. You're still in denial, but I respect that. So let's go ahead and jump into these government contracts. Okay, guys. Now, when you hear the words government contracts, what do you think pops into your head? Because she's asking, what do I know? Like she works for the FBI. Right? What government contract do you have that you want to share on the show? For most people, when you hear government contracts, it's going to be something complex, like a shadowy world reserved for political insiders and giant corporations. You probably assume that it's going to be a game that you can't win unless you have a Rolex and a Rolodex of senators with this little secret handshake that kind of gets you into the door. But you guys got to understand, that's not true. In reality, it is a highly regulated market with a rule book that's public knowledge. I told you half an hour ago. Facts based on public knowledge. Common knowledge is not common because people no longer talk about the things that we need to know to be progressive. People usually get together and woe ways me about how life sucks, and woe ways me, I got scammed, I got tricked, I got trapped in a traffic stop. But we never talk about what can we do to no longer get caught up in them negative situations. This podcast is all about first person accountability. We're going to talk about different ways for you to make, save, and invest money by changing your decision making skills, because your life changes with you making the first decision that you want to change. And then you start proactively changing from the inside out by no longer making decisions that compromises your ability to be successful. Then start holding other people around you accountable so that their decisions doesn't compromise your ability to be successful. Then you have a network of people that will have a certain standard where the people that engage your network are now required to, when in Rome, do what the Romans do, respect the network's non-negotiable expectations for behavior. So now you're no longer involving yourself with people that don't have enough respect for themselves to respect you, right? So right now, the market that we're dealing with is going to be worth well over $2 trillion. Fact, in fiscal year 2023, the federal government alone awarded a record-breaking $765 billion in contracts. So when you add in spending for over 90,000 state, local, and education agencies, market research estimates that number balloons to over $2 trillion every single year of government contracts. Special shout out to Aztec. Now, how much of that information did you know out of the last 54 years of research you've been doing, Kevin? Cross-check me now. Ask the Google lady now. If you don't like, if you think I'm telling you a story, if you think I'm telling you a story, ask the Google lady. I got you. I got you. Right? Make sure that y'all like and subscribe and mash those reaction buttons while you're here. Now, this rule book, it's creating businesses that generates over $800,000 in annual profit for the owners of these businesses, which is why we should be knowing about this stuff, right? It's going to be creating high-paying jobs and consulting gigs where top performers are clearing $500,000, $600,000, and even $700,000 a year when the government's not shut down. All right. So this isn't about finding a loophole or knowing the right person. It's about understanding a system. It's a system that is, by law, designed to be competitive and transparent. So in tonight's show, I'm going to pull back yet another curtain and show you guys what government contracting actually is. I'm going to be revealing the exact proven paths ordinary people like you and me, people with skills in IT, project management, analysis, and even writing are taking to build these incredibly profitable businesses and careers from scratch. Okay? We're going to break down the entire ecosystem, demystify the process, and we're going to give you a step-by-step framework that you guys can start following today, because we've put it in our membership on the YouTube channel already, some of the step-by-step guidelines that you can do to try to create your own business that could, in fact, be qualifiable to get involved with government contracts. So let's start by clearing some of the fog. What even is a government contract? At its heart, it's the world's largest business-to-business or B2B marketplace. The United States government, from the Department of Defense down to your local school district, is the single biggest customer on the planet. But unlike a regular customer, it cannot just go to the store. It has to follow a strict set of rules to buy everything that it needs to run. Those rules are mostly laid out in a massive document called the Federal Acquisition Regulation, or the FAR. Okay? I know that sounds a little bit terrifying. I know. But you don't need to memorize the entire book. What you need to understand is its purpose, to make sure that when the government spends taxpayers' money, it does it in a way that is fair, competitive, transparent, and provides the best value for the government. Okay? It's not insiders' games. It's documented processes. And what are they even buying? Everything. I mean, literally everything. Didn't Donald Trump just say they went from plastic straws to paper straws in the White House? Cup holders and stuff for coffee. They're buying everything. Everything down to toilet paper and hand sanitizer. They're buying everything, right? The federal government spent around $765 billion on contracts in the fiscal year of 2023 alone. They buy complex things like the F-35 fighter jets that drive billions in spending for the Department of Defense. The DoD is consistently the biggest spender, making up around 60% of federal contracts. And remember, we actually talked, what was that, the company Plantier that took over for the other company with a $200 million contract for AI software that was operating the military's weapons defense system. We just talked about that earlier this year. But you guys got to understand, they're also buying incredibly simple things. They buy IT services and cybersecurities, which me and Catherine just finished talking about, how she was a designer. And even though she was a designer, the computer guys were getting paid more than her. This is why. Government pays more money for IT. It's a market that has seen huge growth for years, hitting tens of billions of dollars annually. They buy construction services to build and repair federal buildings. They buy professional services like engineer support and management consultants. They buy janitorial services. So you can have a government contract to clean toilets in a federal building. No joke, guys. Office supplies, software licenses, healthcare for the veterans, and research and development for new technology. I promise you, whatever your skill is or whatever industry it's in, there is a government agency somewhere that's buying that product. This market is gigantic. For spending, the federal spending is consistently in the multi-hundred-billion-dollar range annually, okay? But that's just the tip of the iceberg. The state, local, and education markets, often called SLED, is actually much larger. Industry analysis estimate that the 90,000 plus agencies in the SLED market collectively spend between 1.5 and $2 trillion every year. And that is going to include your city, your county, your public university. When you put it all together, you're looking at $2 trillion annual market where the rules of the game are public. You already know what you need to qualify. After you qualify, all you need is to have a better price point than the other person or more amenities than the other person at the same price point. Now, let's tackle a dangerous myth that I've seen online recently. The idea of secret tax-free government contracts. Yeah. People are going to claim that if you win a classified contract, the income is somehow off the books, not taxable. I'm going to be crystal clear about that. It is 100% false and super illegal. Under Section 61 of the Internal Revenue Code, gross income is defined as all income from whatever source derived. And that absolutely includes government contracts. That classification of the work has zero impact on your duty to pay taxes. So you could have a CIA black site have you do some extension on one of their interrogation rooms to make sure that they have some enhanced equipment for their escalated interrogations. like a table that stretches or turns upside down, uh, a sink with a water fountain. Y'all know what we talk about. Doesn't matter what it is. It's the what it's going to be used for is classified. Where it's located at is classified. But when you get paid for it, the IRS got to know how much you got paid, and you got to pay taxes on it, right? Anyone telling you guys otherwise is either completely clueless or trying to trick you into a tax fraud scheme. Building a real business means following the rules, and that's going to include the rules with the IRS. There are no secrets or shortcuts. The real secret isn't tax evasion, it's understanding that this entire $2 trillion ecosystem is built on a formal, predictable process. Agencies identify a need, they post a public solicitation, like a request for proposal or RFP, on a website like sam.gov. Businesses submit bids, and the agency picks the one that offers the best value. Its system is built for competition, not backroom deals. And it's that same system that creates the two main pathways to an $800,000 annual income. Think about this. Michael talked about this on a show quite a few times. Grant.gov. It's a government website where the government has already allocated money to certain types of work that they expect to get done. And they put a grant proposal up there that suggests this is the stuff that we want to pay for. You prove to us that you qualify to get the money, and we'll pay you for it. The largest majority of grants that I have found on grants.gov is real estate development for at-risk veterans, children, and battered women. Isn't that something? Millions of dollars per contract every October being assessed, where instead of the average real estate developer chasing the multi-billion-dollar fix and flip agenda, they could have honestly said, you know what, let me keep my business in the high-risk community, developing and redeveloping high-risk communities. The largest majority of their overhead would be funded by the United States government. They have fiscal reimbursement grants, where if the largest majority of your overhead went towards a good cause, they will reimburse you. But guess what? If they reimbursed you this year for doing it last year, you can do it again and then get a fiscal reimbursement next year. And what does that mean? Your overhead is free. Right? But not as many entities as I would expect are performing to the magnitude to qualify for these grants. Because in the capitalist country, more people are fighting to get the highest paying gig with the least amount of effort instead of focusing on providing the largest quantity of service for the people that are receiving the least amount of services. Crazy. But we've talked about this on plenty of levels. Now, when people see headlines like $800,000 in government contracting, they're usually picturing one thing. You have to be the owner of a huge company with hundreds of employees. And while owning a successful contracting firm is one of the most reliable ways to get there, it's not the only way. There are two distinct roads that you can travel. Both can lead to incredible financial success, but they're built for different kinds of people. The first road is going to be the founder's path. This is entrepreneur's journey. You build a business. You win a contract as a prime meaning that you have the direct contract with the government. And as that prime, you are generating profits. An $800,000 income here is going to be straight from the company's bottom line. So, for instance, a lean company that brings in $8 million in revenue with a 10% profit margin nets the owner $800,000. This path is building an asset, managing the people, and delivering services at scale. Role number two is going to be the specialist path. And this road is going to be for the high valued experts who doesn't want the headache of running the big company. Now, this path for consultants, the capture manager, the business development lead, the proposal writer, right? These are going to be the rainmakers and strategic minds who help other companies win the contracts. Their income isn't company profits. It's a mix of high base salaries plus massive commissions and bonuses tied to the contract that they helped land. For example, it's not unheard of for top tier capture managers in the federal space to earn between $200,000 and $500,000, with some high performers reporting incomes as high as $700,000 a year with their businesses. Solopreneurs, consultants who advise companies on strategies can sometimes make up to $400,000 annually and by themselves. Complete all of this work without having to have a massive 20, 30, 40, 50, 70 person setup. We actually talked about how you could build a small nonprofit. What was it? 5% of the earnings can go to the executive board. If you usually have an executive board of like 10 people, and with a 10-man executive board, you could easily be making out of $250,000 for the executive board. But if it's 10 members, each person's getting $25,000. But what say you have a multi-million-dollar nonprofit organization and your executive board is making $2.5 million? That means each one of the 10 people in your executive board is making $250,000 on a nonprofit organization board where they're spending 40 hours a week deciding where the money's going. It's their whole job, is deciding where the money's going. Allocation of funds. To get $250,000 a day, $250,000 a year to do what Congress does, which is meet up every day and talk about where the money went and where it came from. And who has it now? Isn't that something? Who does that though? Both paths are very real, and people are succeeding on them every single day. The key is to figure out how each one works and which one is the right fit for your skills, your appetite for risk, and your long-term goals. So for the rest of the night show, we're going to dig into both of these paths. We're a quarter of the way in, so make sure that you guys smash those reaction buttons while you're here. Hit the like button, whether you're watching us on YouTube or Twitter or Twitch. And let's go ahead and get into this, because we're going to start with one that's going to be building lasting entrepreneur value, which is going to be the founder's path. Now, the founder's path is all about building a system, which ironically is the same system that I was telling you guys about when I told you that you can find the pain point in, a specific industry and create a AI software or lease an AI software that allows you to resolve that pain point, and then you sell that service to companies that don't have the time or would not be willing to deal with putting in the effort of dealing with it, because you have two different types of scenarios. You have the convenience fee, and then you have the pain point fee. A pain point is when your service is bottlenecked to the limitations of performance. If you can provide more performance where that bottleneck occurs, you can expand their revenue because you're releasing the constriction of the flow of services to profits that the company has. Convenience is when people are too lazy to do something, they're willing to pay somebody else to do it for them. Convenience. And there's probably a lot more money in convenience than what there is in pain points. Because with pain points, a lot of the times a company bottlenecks because they have a problem that they don't have the time and effort to perform. And a lot of times they don't have the money to perform it. Convenience fees, a company might have the money to perform it. They just don't want to do it. They'll pay you to do it. And whatever they're paying you is probably less than the hourly wage that they would be paying 20 guys to get it done in their company, which is a pain point and convenience. So this is not going to be about getting lucky once, right? It's going to be about creating a repeatable process that cranks out revenue year after year. Like, for example, Steven, you're going into psychology. Guess what every federal agent needs? A mental health provider. After they done finished getting shot at, blown up, thrown out of airplanes, kidnapped, tortured, hostage negotiations, taking out children inadvertently or deliberately because of a scenario that they were called in on, these federal agents' mindsets are screwed beyond repair, especially homicide, especially special victims unit. If you're providing mental treatment to the millions and millions of federal agents that need a therapist, that's a government contract right there. And if you're doing it from a concierge scenario, they can have a session with you while they roll in a patrol car instead of having to show up at the precinct. So the journey from a startup to a firm clearing $800,000 in profits is built on an 8-step roadmap that successful contractors live by. And this isn't a theory, this is a playbook. And you guys can utilize this to start up your own business and link it in with other small, medium, or large businesses, or you can utilize this to get yourself into government contracts. Funny thing is that you can utilize these phases to get you small and medium businesses, build the reputation to attract big business, fill up the workforce to cover that workload, and then prioritize your efforts into landing government contracts to add to your already fully functional business. Telling y'all, there's levels to this. So the first step you guys want to do, deep research and niche selections. You can't be a jack of all trades. You got to specialize in one thing and be the best dang one that you can be in that thing. Okay. So the golden rule here is that you cannot be everything to everyone. I want you guys to remember that, right? The first most critical step is to pick a specific lane and stay in your lane, right? Stay in your lane. Identify a specific service that you can offer at your skill level to a specific agency that needs that service. You start by using free public databases like usaspendings.gov. These sites show you exactly who is spending money, what they are buying, and who is winning it. You can see the DoD is the big fish, but civilian agencies like Veteran Affairs, HSS, and Homeland Security spend billions too. So your goal is to find where these things overlap. Your expertise in agencies, reoccurring need, and a competitive space that you can actually win it. Don't try to go head to head with Lockheed Martin. That's not what we're trying to do. You're not trying to outbid SpaceX. You want to look for smaller contracts in a specialized niche where a small, nimble company has an edge. Because again, 300 something billion Americans, we have what, 10, 12, 13 million Americans in the government. They have trillion-dollar budgets. All you need is $1 million budget to make $400,000 a year for yourself and 4% of the profit. You don't need all of the pot. You just need a drop in the bucket. Step 2, hyper-targeted outreach. This is different from what a lot of motivational speakers talk about, because motivational speakers will encourage you to just find a niche and stick to it. A hyper-targeted outreach is more important, because once you have your niche, you don't just start blindly bidding. You build a list of people that benefit from this niche. You identify the 100 to 200 key players inside of your target agency, contracting officers who sign the deals, program managers who oversee the work, and the actual end users who uses the product. Now, this isn't about fighting shadowy insiders. This is just professional business to business sales. I told you guys this before when I said, as a college student, if you reach out to your alumni and then have your alumni recommend to you other people to talk to in their business and in human resources, you can end up communicating with the hiring managers through word of mouth on a job position that's not open on the website, and potentially land a job through networking that is not posted on the website, instead of putting your resume on the website and having it churn through an AI system that is funneling through millions of people's applications every year, every day, even. You go from being one of many to the one that Ricardo knows from technology, right? You are just identifying your target customers inside the world's biggest organization. If you, let's say you created better radios for police officers, who are you going to pitch that to? The officer on the street? No, that's the end user. The chief of police? Maybe. He might be one that signs that approves the equipment that his officers are using, but he's not the one that signs the budget. You need to know who is in receivables that authorizes vendor contracts. So if you know that person, that's the person that you contact and provide the actual pitch that your radios are better than the radios they already got. Then you bring that pitch to the chief so he can put it on the officers so that the officers can prototype it and come back and tell you how good it is. So this isn't insider whatever. This is knowing your target audience. Now, step 3, relationship building through value, which is something that I was telling Stephen 3 or 4 months ago. You want to not only build, but also maintain relationships. I've been telling you guys this on a regular basis, that instead of having birthday parties, to have a birthday party where either you or your friends and family are wasting a bunch of money on throwing the party for you, you instead reserve a venue and invite a bunch of people in a field that you want to do business in to this event. And you guys meet and greet, talk business, and then celebrate your birthday and utilize it as a tax write-off. You're still spending the money, but you're not wasting money on having a good time. You're investing the money on networking and connecting with more valuable people that will put more money in your pocket down the road, hopefully. With your list in hand of the need to know people in the niche industry that you're in, you're going to start your outreach. And this is going to mean hitting the phones, sending smart emails, showing up to agency industry days where they're going to talk about upcoming projects. So even if you don't have anything relevantly prepared for acceptance, you start showing up and getting your face known, collaborating with the other people that are in that room. You start connecting with other competitors, but you also connect with other people who need the products that are being offered by your competitors. If you were in a trading card game competition on a regular basis, you would likely not just pay attention to your deck of cards, you would pay attention to the deck of cards that everybody else is using. You would find the themes that everybody else is using. Then you would build a counter to that theme so that you can be more competitive, right? You find some of the most successful ones in the tournaments, find out what they're using, and then see if you can counter that. Because if they can beat everybody else and you can beat them, you really only got one opponent that you've got to get past. That is a good strategy. The goal of the first contract isn't to sell. When you're trying to make first contact with these people, your goal is not to sell anything. It's to get a meeting with individuals. You want to get in front of them before an RFP is ever released to talk about their mission and their challenges. Your position, where you're putting yourself as the problem solver, is important, not as just another vendor, right? Step 4, you want to become a known and trusted entity. And next part, this next part is pretty tough. This is going to be where you leave 90% of your competition in the dust because you build trust by providing value before they ever buy anything. Often offering to host a webinar on the new technology, writing a white paper on a challenge that they're facing. By the time an RFP drops, you don't want to be a random name in a pile of papers. You want the evaluators to tell you, oh, it's him. He's here. Xander's here. Steven's here. We know those guys. They get it. They're going to get the contract. We're going to give it to them. You don't just show up and hang out. You show up, you engage, you show them what you're capable of, and then they're going to offer you a deal, right? Step 5 is going to be rigorous pipeline management, because as you build these relationships, you'll start hearing about potential opportunities long before they become public. Now you're an insider to the knowledge. You have to build a pipeline of these potential deals and be ruthless in qualifying them. You got to understand, when you first get into this, you may not qualify for a lot of the deals that you come across. But as you revamp your business and improve and expedite your business, you will find yourself in a position where you're going to start finding yourself more qualified than the other people in the room. A slam dunk is going to be a deal where you have a strong relationship, a deep understanding of the work, and a clear competitive advantage. You have to be disciplined and avoid chasing every shiny object. So you might hear about a lot of jobs, but you're not going after all of them. You're going to find the themes here and work through those, but you're looking for something specific. Your odds of winning a deal that you've been shaping for months are sky high compared to a cold bid on every single bid that comes through, which is going to be the fastest way to burn time and money consistently putting up all of these bids. Step number 6, the art of the proposals. When that slam dunk RFP finally hits, and everybody sees it, your job is to write a proposal that is clear, compliant, compelling, and convincing. A compliant proposal is the most important word in this scenario. You have to address every single requirement in the proposal. This is where an analytical mind is pure gold. You structure your response so that it is easy for the government evaluator to just go down their checklist and give you high marks. Number 7, learning loops. Learning curve is always there. You're not going to win every contract. The secret is to learn from every single one that you've attempted to apply for, win or lose. If you lose, you have to request a debriefing. The government is often required to tell you why you lost, where you were weak, if your price was too high, or if what the other company did was better. You take that intel and you feed it right back into your process. You improve your templates, you improve your pricing, you improve your outreach. This feedback loop is how you systematically get better and increase your win ratio. Step 8 is going to be flawless executions and growth. Winning the contract is just the starting line. Now that you have the contract, you got to deliver. Great performance is going to be the best marketing that you can possibly have in government contracting. Doing a great job, and the government is going to find themselves more likely to keep you on for years to come, expanding your work, or even awarding you new contracts without a full-blown competition. They might just put you into something that's going to be a revolving door of take this job, take this job, take that job. This is how you build a stable foundation of revenue. Now, what some people fail to do when their primary revenue is government funds is they fail to have a surplus of capital there to sustain 3 months worth of government shutdown. As a result, some government contracted businesses struggle. But if they had the type of foreshadowing capabilities to put less profits in their pockets and more performance towards producing the product, even through a government shutdown, they would likely be able to secure a whole lot more projects, especially in October and January, because their performance is not going to be impacted by a government shutdown, where everybody else's performance would be. We'll get the job done. You pay us the invoice after the fact. But you have to have subsidies to cover that sometimes. This is going to be how you build a stable foundation of revenue. I know one analyst who won a single contract, made himself the program manager, and grew that one project from 3 people to over 35 in 5 years, all built on that first win and flawless delivery. The math, the $800,000 in profit, is not that hard to come by. So, how does this actually get you to your $800,000 income? Let's run some numbers. Imagine that you own a small IT service firm. After working the process, you win a few contracts. Contract A, $1.5 million deal for cybersecurity support with a 15% profit margin. That's a $255,000 profit. Contract B, $1 million help desk contract. A little bit less. You run this one on lean, meaning that you're not going to have as many employees in the middle of this one, but you're hitting a 20% margin. That's a $200,000 project. $200,000 profit for you. Notice you're at 425. Contract C, another $1 million software development contract, also 20% margin. That's another $200,000 in profit from just 3 contracts. Your business has $3.5 million in revenue and $625,000 in gross profits. after paying for minimum overhead, your take-home pay as the owner of that business can easily be the $400,000 to $600,000 range. You can also pay a surplus of workers to come in, and you could also reduce that down to a $250,000 or $300,000 range if you're not living in California or New York and you don't need as much of the money, which also means that you will be performing less work, delegating more responsibilities, and negotiating more bids. Because as you expand, you're going to make less, do less, but you're going to have more coming in than what you need. To get to $800,000, you just scale. Win one more $1 million contract at a 20% margin, and you got another $200,000 to your bottom line, pushing it over that $800,000 line. This is going to be the power of stacking predictable revenue from a customer that never bounces a check until the shutdown happens. And the government helps you because by law, the government has a goal of awarding at least 23% of all federal prime contract dollars to small businesses. They have been consistently meeting and exceeding that goal year over year. For example, in fiscal year 2024, that amounted to about $176.1 billion awarded to the small businesses. That contract with the government. There's also special set-aside programs that reserve contracts just for certain types of small businesses, like those owned by women, WOSVs, service disability veterans, SDVOSVs, right? Or those special economic zones that I was telling you guys about from grants.gov, hub zones. These certifications aren't a magic wand. You still have to be good at what you do, but they drastically shrink your competition. In the market where very few people are going into real estate for special economic zones, you have less competition. You just have to structure it in a way where you meet the expectations of a grant that nobody wants to perform. And then if you can sustain it, fiscal reimbursement grants double down on your expenses. This is the founder's path. It's not easy. It's not quick. Nothing that we talk about is an overnight task. It's going to take strategy and it's going to take grit. But it is a proven way to build a valuable company and a life-changing income. So looking behind a founder isn't for everybody. Trying to be a founder is not the things that everybody wants to do. A lot of people prefer just to, do as they're told. The stress of making payroll, managing the team, it's a lot. Putting out proposals to bring in more work to cover the team that you've already created. It's a lot. Training people. I know. But that doesn't lock you out of the high income potential here. Because, like I said, the second path is the specialist path. So this is going to let you use your individual skills to earn an executive level income. Sometimes even more than a small business owner, making this beneficial for you in your early years. And you're going to be making more than some small business owners when they first start up. This path is going to be about becoming a critical gear in a government sale machine, being the picks and axes to the mining project. Doesn't matter if they come back with anything. What matters is they had to buy the picks and shovels from you. You're guaranteed in. Companies chasing multi-million or multi-billion-dollar contracts will pay a fortune for people who can help them win the contract. So let's break down some key roles. The capture manager. This is the one where most of the people forget strategic high paying roles exist in the industry. Think of a capture manager as the general of a campaign. Their job starts months or years before an RFP is ever released. They are the architects of the victory, responsible for identifying the opportunities, building the relationships, and developing the win strategy because they're so vital to landing huge revenue. Their pay is extraordinary based on salaries, often starting in the $200,000 range, but with commissions for winning, it is not uncommon for top performers to earn upward of 500,000 to 700,000. But if your base pay is 200 grand and you will likely make another 500 grand in profits if you win, that's a win-win for a lot of people. The second one is going to be business development lead and account executives. And this role is all about relationships. BD leads are responsible for a specific agency, managing the company's relationships with that customer and positioning the company as the go-to problem solver. Base salaries often start around $150,000, but with a good commission plan, top account executives sell to federal agencies and can easily clear $300,000 to $500,000 a year. Now, side note, this is wild, but notice these $500,000 jobs that we're talking about. And Catherine said she's a designer, not this $500,000 job that we're talking about. The choices you make decide your pay. Number 3, a proposal manager. Now, while the capture manager designs the strategy, the proposal manager executes the final attack. When the RFP is released, they manage the entire chaotic process of writing the proposal, making sure the final submission is perfect and on time. It is an incredibly high pressure, detail oriented job. Experienced proposal managers are highly sought after, with salaries often ranging from $100,000 to $180,000. The solopreneur consultants, meaning like individual entrepreneur. This is a powerful path for a true expert. If you are a master of the capture process or an amazing proposal writer, you can start your own one-person consulting shop. You advise the other companies on how to win their own work. So now you're not competing with the companies that are trying to get the big contracts. You're getting paid from the companies that are trying to get the big contracts to help them get the big contracts. Picks and shovels, not the mining. You get a guaranteed pay because you're helping them with a pain point, them getting approved. So instead of competing with them with getting approved, your whole job could be helping them get approved. And you get paid to try, and you get paid more to succeed, right? As a trusted advisor, a solo entrepreneur consultant can charge serious fees. Top independent consultants in this space can generate $250,000 to $400,000 a year working for themselves. One-man army, $400,000 a year, just telling businesses what to do to get accepted. Now you have a hybrid model that we didn't talk about earlier today, and this is going to be the ultimate income multiplier, because this is going to be where it gets really fun. The smartest players in the game often combine roles to create multiple income streams, which is called the hybrid model. Here's how it's going to work. You act as a solo entrepreneur consultant or solopreneur consultant. That's how they identify. Advising a big company on how to win and manage the contracts. For this, you get a nice consulting fee, but you also own your own small specialized firm. As part of your advice, you recommend that big company team with your small firm to perform a small niche part of the work if they win. So you're saying, I've got a good idea. This is how you should do it. If you succeed, we will help you do it for a fee. Doubling down. When the big company wins, you get paid twice. You get your consulting fee for getting them to the contract, and now your small business is going to get a subcontract to do a lot of billable work, which generates profits for you. So let's do the math on that. And make sure that y'all mash the reaction buttons while y'all are popping in. Your annual consulting income, $300,000. You help a client win a $20 million contract, and you are a small firm that gets a $2 million subcontract at a 25% profit margin. That's $500,000 profit to your firm, a total $800,000 income. This hybrid approach lets you cash in on your expertise through consulting while also building a business asset that generates profits. It's an incredibly effective strategy for maximizing your income. And remember, when we started off with the solopreneur, you're a one-man business where you're contracted to help them get the deals. And then when they lock into the deals, you are contracted to run some stuff for them, back office work for them during the time that they have the contract. You could hire some more people on your payroll to do the day-to-day work for them while you are locking your company into more deals. Because if you brought in $500,000 and you only needed $250,000, that other $250,000 can pay somebody else to do the day-to-day operations while you're locking in more deals. And now it's a two-person job. Still a small business, because a small business is like 5 or 10 people, right? So if you're seeking government contracts and you've got people doing the paperwork after you've locked in the deal, you're referring the business to your company. So the 5 of y'all, 1 is bringing in more business, and 3 of the other 4 are handling those businesses. 1 person per business, that's 4 business contracts. If you're dealing with a multi-billion-dollar contract where each one is paying you $500,000, that's 4 contracts paying you $500,000. That's $1 million. And out of that $1 million, if each one of your employees got like 200 grand, you have 4 employees, that's 800 grand, that's 200 grand in your pocket. Yeah. Now, the hybrid approach is going to allow you to cash in your expertise while consulting with your business as an asset to generate profits. It's an incredibly effective strategy for maximizing your income. Whether you're a pure specialist or a hybrid player, this path proves that you don't need to be a CEO to earn an executive level income in this industry. You just need to be the expert that they can't afford to lose. Right? Theory and numbers are going to be great, but let's make this real. How does someone actually start this? Make sure that you guys like and subscribe and mash those reaction buttons while you're here. It's going to begin with one website, right? It's going to begin with SAMS.gov. And in some situations, people might actually deal with grants.gov. And it's going to be the system for awarding managements. That's what it's called, grants.gov. Right? Now, oh, what is that? I'm over here on. Oh, what's that? Remove background. Yeah, let's turn that on. I didn't know that it was making a bunch of background noise. I didn't know this. over here on TikTok, looking at some of the pop-ups that we had here. I was not expecting that. Oh, oh, okay, good. Well, I appreciate you guys for still showing up. Now, oh, and what's that? Oh, y'all can ask questions. Y'all ain't got no questions. Y'all over here watching us for 3 hours and y'all don't have no questions. What y'all don't have no questions? I would have had all kind of questions. I'd be like, hey, how do I get started? what do I got to do to get started? That's what I would have been asking. This is going to be the official front door for any business wanting to work with the federal government is going to this particular site, right? You've got to recognize that. So before you can even bid, you need to register your business like an LLC, and you must complete your registration on that site so that they know that you're there, right? That's something that not everybody tells you. You've got to make yourself known officially before they before they call you out on anything else, right? This is going to be step 0, non-negotiable expectation for behavior. So let's take a side step real quick as it pertains to creating the LLC. First step with creating an LLC is going to be that you fundamentally need to know what you're doing. Design some kind of name. It doesn't have to be perfect because later on you can do a doing business as name if you come up with a better name down the line. But you get you a name, and that's going to be necessary because you're going to utilize that to do the tax identification number. Your tax identification number is going to come with a specific tax code for the specific field that you're working in, and they're going to issue you an EIN. Last time I checked, it was anywhere between $250 and $300 to get it. Back in the day, at one point in time, it could have been free for certain situations, like maybe a nonprofit. But these days, when you're doing like a actual for-profit company, you're paying a fee. Whatever that fee is, you got to pay that fee and wait the time to get approved on that. Then all of your paperwork, when you're filling these things out, you're going to be attaching that tax identification number, like adding your social security number to a bank account. You're going to be attaching that tax identification number to everything you do. The next thing that you're going to do with your LLC, and this is before like websites and all of this other stuff, the next thing you're going to do with your LLC is take that tax identification number and go to your local city or state or wherever you operate, and you're going to get registered. It so that you can be seen publicly that you exist as a state certified business, like they know that you exist, kind of thing. After you get that certification, then the next thing you're going to do is you're going to go to a bank and you're going to register your business with that bank. One of the requirements to start up a bank account with a business is that your business is already registered in the state that the bank account is in. These steps need to be done so that you can get paid from the government when the government cuts a check, because if Xander from this and that is doing a contract, the government's not going to pay Xander, the government's going to pay this and that. Therefore, this and that needs a bank account in whatever city or state that this and that is doing something in, so that when this and that podcast does something with the government can send a check. These things have to be done first. After you do these things, then you go to this website, sams.gov or grants.gov. You sign up over there. Some of the things you're going to be looking for is your business identity, tax information, and then billing options. That's going to be some of the main things you're going to be looking for when you create your profile. Then when you start looking through the site and you start finding things that you can get involved in based on what they offer versus what you think you can do, that's when you start interacting with the site. Your reputation is going to be based off of how many bids you actually get approved of and how you successfully fulfill those bids. If you allocated the capital to whatever they paid you for, and if you did it in a timely manner, the reputation that you build on that site is going to be based on your success as well as your performance. So once you register on SAMS.gov, this is going to be where you find your opportunities. Thousands of active opportunities are available with new ones posted all the time. You got to understand, there are going to be some seasonal ones that get archived. They don't always get taken down off of the site. You have to look at the available activities, look at the performance date where they have from this timeline to this timeline that this is going to be available. And then after that, it's no longer available. And it might be shortly after that activity is not available, but that activity is still listed. So you got to check the dates and then check the criteria. But this is going to be where you put your research into practice. You don't just search for IT services. You use advanced filters to find specific keywords in your niche for an agency that you're targeting. And for contracts set aside for small businesses. So let's say that you're running a cybersecurity company. You know that the Department of Homeland Security buys a lot of what you're selling. You've been following their budget and identifying key people. One morning, you see it, an RFP on SAMS.gov from the Department of Homeland Security for a $2 million contract for security assessment services. Because you did your homework, this isn't a surprise. You might have even heard that it was coming through your network. Now you have a critical choice. Compete as the prime contractor or try to join a team as a subcontractor. As the prime, you're in control. You submit the proposal, and if you win, the money flows through you to everybody else. This is ultimately the goal, but it's tough for your first contract. The government cares a lot about past performance. They want to see that you've done this before. That is going to be one of the main reasons why nonprofits have a hard time getting started with government funded contracts from grants.gov, because you have to show results to the government before they issue you money. They won't issue you money on a hypothetical what if, because what if you take the money and run and don't do anything with it? So you would have to perform acquiring capital, allocating capital, self-sustainability, transparency, external third-party audits, and then take that information, show it to them, say, this is what we've been doing, this is what you're asking from us, and we are already accomplishing that. Give us money to expand on continuing to do that in this special economic zone. By doing that, the government then says, oh, I can do X, Y, and Z, A, B, and C. And when you see joint ventures between nonprofits and for-profits, joint ventures would be a nonprofit's objective is to facilitate a specific, say, rehab center. But they're going to subcontract the construction or acquisition of the property to a for-profit. For-profit gets it, for-profit uses it, nonprofit, or for-profit gets it and then passes it off to the nonprofit, nonprofit uses it, nonprofit gets paid from the government, for-profit got paid for their involvement. That's a joint venture. And in real estate investment companies can be joint ventures with nonprofits in scenarios where you're special economic zone in your construction. The for-profit comes from either renting out the properties or selling the properties. The nonprofit comes from when the nonprofit entities are providing it to at-risk families, low income, and subsidizing the rent or a special funding for financing for individuals that are high risk and unable to do regular lending from the banks. This is some certain things that people never think about. So as the subcontractor, you find a bigger, more established company that's planning to bid on the same thing that you were just looking at and convenience them to put convenience them and convince them to put you on their team. You want to make sure that, hey, I can handle X, Y, and Z, A, B, and C, and aid you in your ability to get approved on it. A lot of the times, there's so much money involved Everybody's got to eat, and there's going to be leftovers. So nobody really cares if you jump in because they're not greedy about the situation. If you're going to aid them in succeeding, they'll add you to the team like Frodo and Lord of the Rings. They'll add anybody on the team. But your role might be to do 20% of the work. For a beginner, the advantage is going to be huge because you're going to be getting the experience. The beginner company has the past performance and reputation. The bigger companies are going to be building that. You, as a startup, are going to be earning that reputation because when you file your documents in the future, you're going to be coining the fact that you aided such and such company in this project. You were involved with this project and that project and the other project. By joining bigger, more experienced firms like internships and other such, you get to inherit their credibility. If they win, you win. Every time they win, you win. You get a piece of their revenue. And more importantly, you now have a real past performance record that you can use to win your own prime contracts down the line. So you don't have to hit the ground running and be the leader of every contract. You can be the foot soldier in every army to be able to say that you've been in enough wars to lead your own army. For 9 out of 10 new businesses, subcontracting is the single best entry strategy. It lets you learn the ropes, build your reputation, and make money with a much lower barrier to enter. So you decide to subcontract. Use your research to find the likely prime bidders for this DHS contract. You reach out to their business development leads, showing that your niche expertise makes their overall proposal stronger. A major prime agrees and adds you to their team. Their proposal wins. You now have your first piece of federal contract. You execute flawlessly. The prime contractor is happy. The government customer is happy. 2 years later, when a similar contract comes up, you have a choice. You can subcontract again because you've got a good reputation, or you can use your past performance that you just earned to go after the same types of projects as the prime contractor yourself. You've now officially entered the game. That's going to be how it's done. It's a strategic climb that starts with the first step of finding a way to add value. Okay, now I'd be doing you a huge disservice if I made this sound like it is some easy get rich quick button. It is not. The opportunity is real, but the path is full of traps. For the sake of credibility, let's talk about the hard truths that you're going to have to face here. And we're 3/4 of the way through. So if you're still with me, hang in there because we're almost done. Hard truth number 1, competition is going to be fierce. And incumbents have the high ground, individuals that's been there for a long period of time. Incumbents, the incumbents. Whew, pronouncing that word is wow, tongue twister. In many cases, they are companies that have been serving the agency for decades. Household name in the government. They have deep relationships and massive incumbent advantages. Trying to knock them out with a cold bid is a low probability shot. And this is why the relationship building phase isn't an option. It's a mandatory requirement. You have to give the government a really good reason to switch to another company. So getting in with a company that's already guaranteed makes it easier for you to get the experience that you need to be a competitor down the line. Hard truth number 2, lowest price doesn't always win, but a bad price always loses. New customers often think it's all about being the cheapest. While some simple contracts are, most are awarded on best value, a mix of technical skills, past performance, and price. But if your price is way out of line, either too high or so low the government thinks that you don't know what you're doing, you're out. Pricing is going to be an art, and getting it wrong is a fatal error. Hard truth number 3, compliance. Compliance is not a suggestion, it's an expectation. Like when Catherine was driving down the road not following those speed signs. It wasn't a suggestion, it was an expectation. So when you win a bid, you're subject to tons of rules for accounting, cybersecurity, labor, and much more. And full transparency is a requirement. So no cutting corners and sweeping it under the rug and thinking that nobody's going to see the shattered vase. There's no carpet. They got to see the whole floor. If there's a shattered vase, they're going to know about it. Mistakes in billing or security can lead to financial penalties and ruin your reputation, or even get you disbarred, meaning that they're no longer going to do business with you. And this is a death sentence for a government contract. You have to take this stuff seriously from day one. Now, for the critical mistakes that sink so many newcomers. First one is going to be the ego trap, ignoring teaming up with people. Trying to do everything yourself as a prime contractor right from the start is a huge mistake, usually born of ego. Smart companies, big and small, use strategic teaming to win. Subcontracting helps you build your resume. Going in it alone when you don't have a resume is a strategic blunder. When you don't even, in situations where you have a good resume and you don't need to go into it alone, it is still a strategic blunder. Share the wealth. There's plenty of it there. Trillions of dollars across hundreds of people is a lot of money. Critical mistake number 2, the spray and pay method. This is the biggest waste of time. New contractors get on sam.gov to see dozens of opportunities, and they start firing off half-baked proposals for anything that looks interesting. This is like playing the lottery without the pre-RFP homework. Your odds of winning a competitive contract are basically zero. You want to focus on a handful of qualified opportunities and invest your energy wisely on this. Critical mistake number 3 is falling for guaranteed win scams. Just like the tax myth, there are a ton of consultants who promise to get you registered for a crazy fee or guarantee you'll win a contract. I want to be very clear. There are no guarantees. This is a competitive, relationship-driven market. So if you are a stranger, even if the person is an ace in the hole guy to get the proposals on paper, when they pull your company and don't know you from a scratch on the wall, they're not going to pick you. It could be the best written proposal they've seen, but they only affiliate with people they remember. Anyone selling a push button solution is just preying on you and your desire for a shortcut, which is why every step-by-step walkthrough that we give you in our platform has absolutely no way to turn you into an overnight sensation. You are going to have to put your 5, 10, 20-year plan into action and stick to it until you reach success, right? The real work is building a strategy, executing a strategy with discipline, and staying tuned to revamping whatever isn't working for you. Knowing these realities isn't meant to scare you. It's meant to prepare you. The winners in this space aren't the ones who avoid the challenges. They're the ones who understand them and then build a strategy to navigate. They know this is a marathon, not a sprint. Now, we've covered a ton of ground. We demystified what government contracting actually is, which is a massive $2 trillion marketplace. We've detailed 2 different paths to an $800,000 income for yourself out of your company, which is the founder's path and the specialist path. And we've walked through the 8-step roadmap that turns ambition into revenue. The main lesson is this: the secret to success here isn't being an insider, it's having a documented, reputable process to help you get started. Now, I'm going to do you guys another one. I put the guide that breaks down the 8-step roadmap to winning your first government contract into our membership. It expands on the steps that we covered today and gives you actionable checklists to start building your own strategies. So if you want to get your hands on one of those, you want to go to the YouTube site, you want to go take a look at the membership and grab it and see what you can do with it and do your research and add to it. It's the perfect next step to turning this knowledge into action. So, is government contracting complex? Of course it is. But it is an impenetrable insider only club? Absolutely not. There is no such thing as members only with government contracts. Familiarity, yes. Members only, no. It's a system with clear rules, public data, and massive potential. It's a market where the federal government is actively trying to give billions of dollars to small businesses every year. It's a space where deep expertise is rewarded with incredible incomes, both for business owners and the specialists who help them win it. The opportunity to build an $800,000 income is not a fantasy. It is the direct result of applying a disciplined strategy to make that hunger for the best solution the likely outcome that you receive. So whether you're a skilled professional feeling stuck in your job or a business owner looking for a stable, high growth customer, the path is there for you. So what we did today would be the first step. You now understand the game. The next step is to start playing the game. And wildly enough, after talking to you guys for 3 hours now, 2.5 hours now, we've gone through a ton of stuff that most of y'all did not know was here. And we've got plenty more information to go in upcoming shows. If you got value from this breakdown, I want you guys to do me a favor, hit the subscription button, like the channel, mash those reaction buttons while you're here. We are providing videos like this every night of the week. We started about 11:30 Eastern Standard Time, sometimes 11:45-ish every night of the week. And we give you a few hours of information every single night of the week. And this is filled with no fluff. And we break myths and provide you with fact-based, research-driven information that is public knowledge that not too many people know because nobody thought to look for it. And these are actionable strategies that I create for you guys to help you succeed in government contracting today, but in anything else that we start talking about doing every other day out of the week. Like, for example, tomorrow, Wednesday, we're going to be talking about different countries around the world that we can live in and invest in. There's a lot going on here. With the way that the economy is changing, we need to change with the economy. We need to stop waiting for a handout and start making our own way. We need to stop waiting to be replaced and start replacing our income with a cash-driven revolving capital that we no longer have to get out of bed to receive. If you're in your 30s or 40s or 50s right now and you're watching this podcast, where do you see yourself in 30 years? How is your standard of living going to be paid for without you having to get up and go get it? What does your retirement look like as far as medical expenses are covered? Will you have an in-home nurse? If you want to travel after you quit working, how are you going to pay for that? Which countries are you going to live in? Will your standard of living in America still be here, sustained by a portion of your income? How do you account for inflation over the years? What is your 20 and 30-year plan? These are questions that should be asked on the first and second date that most people have no answer to. Miss America responses: oh, I want to have financial freedom. I want to have a stress-free life. Oh, I want to have more time with family. But how are you going to get there? How are you going to get there? We just spent 3 hours talking about how you can go from working for your boss at IHOP to working for the United States government. And we spent 2.5 hours explaining to you how you can not just do it on your own, but you can do it in a group where everybody's making $500,000 a year. You can go from a $60,000 a year a job to a $500,000 subcontractor job. But it requires you to change your mentality and use the skill set, ladies, that y'all went to college for. Because like Kathleen, she was talking about how she's got 2 degrees. Which one of those degrees got you in a government contract? She says she's a designer. Nothing wrong with designers. But if you're not designing military uniforms so that you can have a military contract, if you're not designing the presidential wardrobe so that you can have a government contract, all of the feds have a standard uniform. If you're not designing their wardrobe, shoe stores, belt stores, come on, y'all. Y'all got to understand, there are government contracts for all of that stuff, right? If y'all not trying to find ways to go from minimum wage effort to top pay wage effort, you're not going to be able to reclassify your value. Because your value in your career is how much somebody else is willing to pay for your presence. Your skill set weighs into that a lot. But more often than not, it's not just what you know, it's who you know. So how many people on the podcast tonight knows, affiliate with, and does business with somebody that makes 3 times more money than them? And that's a standard across the board question. If you're making $60,000 a year and you don't know somebody that's making $180,000 a year and you're trying to do business with them, you're slacking on yourself. Because if you're making $60,000 a year, your homeboy or your homegirl is making $55,000, $60,000 a year, your boyfriend or your girlfriend is making $70,000 a year, all of y'all are in the same financial bracket. The ladder to success is a ladder because there are different levels to this. And in order for you to get to the next level, you got to be affiliating with people on the next level. So if everybody in your network is in the $50,000, $60,000 a year range, nobody's in the $180,000 range. How are you going to get there? You got to not just continue your network in the $60,000, $70,000 a year range. You have to put yourself in the $180,000 a year range so that you can start finding out not only what do they do, what do they need, but how do you get there? When you go from being an unemployed college student to working in the career of your major, you did that by doing what? Networking to the job that you wanted to work in and then shadowing them to get the experience so that you can intern, so that you can work on that job when you got out of college. You do what after you get the job? Mentor somebody else who's doing what? Networking, because they reached out to you with the same drive and ambition that you had when you started out, and you are eager to pass it forward and help them come up. But that is somebody who didn't make it, reaching out to somebody who made it, asking them to show me how you made it. If you haven't made it to where you want to be at in life, you find somebody who made it to where you want to be at in life. They may not be where they want to be at in life, but they are where you wish you could be in life. Link up with them and find out how they got partner with them a little bit, do some financial transactions with them, not where you're buying a service from them or them selling you a service. Y'all can be partnering up and y'all can both be collaborating on selling the service to a third person where you start getting yourself into their realm. When you do that, you find yourself expanding your network in a way where you become more valuable for a larger network. The old saying, going from being a big fish in a small pond to a small fish in a big pond, your size didn't change. The environment that you were in changed. And the only way that you're going to continue to grow is if you leave the small network of low income individuals that you know and put yourself into a large network of high income individuals that you don't know. That don't mean that you can't go back and get the low income people that you know and bring them with you. MC Hammer had 500 some people on stage with him when he was making $53,000 a year. The difference is that each person on stage with you is supposed to be a benefit to you, not just a spotlight chaser. They're not riding the coattails of your fame. You don't need an entourage to make you look good. You need the 12 disciples to help you get better. So if you're walking with 12 people, them 12 people benefit you 12 different ways. If you walking with 12 people that are just showing up because you're going, that is 12 people leeching off of your success. That's the first bad decision that you make. If you got a car full of people rolling with you and ain't nobody putting gas in the car, what are you benefiting from their presence? Somebody's got to have VIP access. Somebody's got to have a network to the next venue. Somebody's got to have access to amenities that wasn't advertised to the general public. Somebody has to have a profit to our investment on this particular agenda. You got a car full of people. They got to have purpose. Because if you got a car full of people, just because they know you wasting space in your car for people who don't value you. Probably to go do something that doesn't value you. Think about that. Think about that. Because if you had hit real quick, turn the subject a little bit. When is the last time you sat down with somebody you knew and not just talked about the future in a wishful thinking fashion, but actually planned for the future in a forward thinking, actionable fashion? When's the last time you done it? Hell, when's the last time you practiced a fire drill in your house, in your neighborhood, in your school? When's the last time y'all don't even know where the exits are in y'all apartments. Y'all don't even know where the fire extinguisher are on the floor of your unit. Y'all are not prepared for the worst, but everybody teaches themselves prepare for the worst, hope for the best, and take whatever happens in between. But what happened to preparing for the best? What happened to planning for everything else? What happened to having an actionable plan for if everything is going according to plan? What about that? We have all of the training from our ancestors to prepare for catastrophe, prep for chaos, plan for negative fallouts, safety net, safety net, safety net. But who's got a plan for when we succeeded? Who's got a plan for when we win? Who's got a plan for once we've accomplished the goals, how do we maintain stability? Who's got that plan? I'm gonna tell y'all something. I provide y'all with information that self-improvement gurus don't provide y'all because they are not there to make you successful. They are there to get paid to tell you that you are allowing your life to suck. I am going to bridge the gap between you recognizing that you are allowing your life to suck, and here is how you can stop doing that. And a lot of people are going to lie to themselves. As soon as I said that, my life don't suck. I love my life. Lie. Right now. Everybody that's listening to the show right now, what's one thing in your life right now that you wish was different? Is it the neighborhood you live in, the house you have or apartment that you have, the car, the number of people in your house, the people that you affiliate with, neighbors that get on your nerves, the job that you're working on, some of the co-workers on the job, the boss that you have, the school that you go to, teachers that you deal with, some of the students in your classroom, somebody in a project that you're dealing with for your final assignment, your availability. Your availability is a pain point where you work too much, you don't have enough free time, or you don't work enough. You don't have enough days off. You could be the most valuable person on your job. You're always at work. You're never home, but now you don't remember what your house looks like because you're never home. Like, there are things about your life that you wish could change. There's something. When's the last time you had a vacation? Never had one? Your vacation is 3 days off in a row? There's things about your life that you wish you could change, which means that you are not satisfied with where you are, which means that you have room for improvement, and which means I have a lot of stuff to teach you, because you should be satisfied with where you are, not because this is the best that it gets, because you got everything that you could perceivably want and need within reason. Yeah, it's something you need that you ain't got. You're missing something, which means your life sucks. All right, that's where we're going to draw the line in tonight's show. We're here every night of the week. We kick off at about 11:30 Eastern Standard Time, sometimes 11:45. We're going to start by saying, ladies, as long as the situation doesn't make sense, I'm going to keep asking you ladies to make it make sense. So ladies, please make it make sense. Fellas, we provide you guys with information to make you guys higher value men, not just by providing you with a larger financial income, but by improving your decision-making skills. Ladies, while this is a male-driven podcast from a male's perspective, you too can become a higher value woman by first finding the things in your life that you don't like, and then proactively put forth effort to prioritize changing those things, and then navigating around the things in your life that are beyond your control, right? So you start with the things that are inside of your control, change those, and then navigate around the things that are outside of your control. Also, if you pay attention to your 20 and 30-year plan, reverse engineer where you want to be at to what you got to do today to get there. And while you steadfast on that plan, keep your eyes and ears open for the potential suitor with the right personality, characteristics, drive, ambition, dedication, motivation, admiration, integrity to accomplish his own goals. And then you see how his goals mesh well with your goals. Then you are able to determine if his forward-thinking goals matches well with your forward-thinking goal, where you guys are dealing with long-term satisfaction planning, not short-term gratification. And you will be able to determine that you two can accomplish each other's goals together. I tell you guys on a regular basis that two people can make it to $1 million faster than one, but it requires both of you to be working towards the same or similar long-term satisfaction goals. Because if one of you is trying to plan for the future and the other one's enjoying the present, you're always going to be at odds with one another and you're never going to succeed. One person will always be subsidizing the other person, and you guys will always have resentment towards one another, and it typically doesn't last. But if you both are working towards a future, because ladies, y'all can find y'all a $45,000 a year man. Y'all can live off of a $55,000 a year income. Y'all are making $45,000, $50,000 a year as well. A $90,000 combined income, living off of a $50,000 a year lifestyle. Y'all could take $40,000 a year, put it away, have $400,000+ a year plus interest, which is likely $750,000 in 10 years, where y'all will be ultimately making a $75,000 to $100,000 a year return on investment. We got portfolios in a membership that are 15% return on investment, but 10% from the S&P 500 would take a $750,000 portfolio, giving you $75,000 a year, which is basically your income and his income together. Y'all could quit working, travel the world. Y'all can up your lifestyle to a $60,000 a year lifestyle and be satisfied with your partner because y'all did it together. But how many women will live off of one income, having a two-income household, and invest a second income into making your family multimillionaires in your lifetime instead of just marrying a millionaire? How many of y'all will take a fast food restaurant worker that's making $72,000 a year at a Waffle House working as a night shift manager and turn that into a multimillionaire? How many of y'all are willing to do it? Y'all want to find a man that already makes $100,000 a year. But why can't y'all find a man with the drive and ambition to be financially responsible so that y'all can together make $150,000 a year? Most women want to travel the world, but how many women have created the financial lifestyle with their partner where they can travel the world? You want to travel the world at the expense of somebody who thinks you're attractive, but you're not willing to create a lifestyle with somebody as a partner where y'all are capable of traveling the world, right? This is why y'all get miscategorized as gold diggers. Not because you're instinctively leeching off of people. It's because you're not instinctively designed to build people up. You will go to the mall and build a bear, but you won't go out in the street and build a man. You don't like the men that are out there, but those men were raised by women. So if women raised men to be more successful, then there would be more successful men in the market for the women to pick from. You must cultivate the crop that you harvest. Another pain point, something about your life that you don't like, you can fix it. Teaching your sons and your brothers how to behave better as men so that the girlfriends that they get are better quality. Not allowing low quality women to affiliate with the sons and brothers and uncles and fathers that you guys have in your lives allows for you to separate your family from negative behavior. Something as simple as that. Mentorship is not just down, it is also across. You have to learn how to make change, not just a goal on your agenda, but a way of life. It shouldn't be a slogan on a 2008 presidential campaign. It should have been the thing you've been doing since 2008. And had you 20 years of putting your money aside, 20% of your income, you would have $1 million. You don't got to wait for Camilla Harris to give you $1.3 million. You could have had $1 million just by simply putting away $10,000 to $20,000 a year every year, plus the interest compounding over 20 years. You would have had $1 million by yourself. So if you had a partner where y'all are putting down twice as much money, y'all would have had $2 to $2.5 million over the last 20 years. So if you're 40, if you would have been doing it since you were 20, you could retire right now. If you're 40 and you do this until you're 60, you can retire then. So the question is, when you're 70, exactly what kind of lifestyle are you going to have? Well, that depends on what you decide to do today. You can either keep riding the wave thinking that it's not always going to be like this, or you can start proactively putting forth the effort to change it from where it is now to where you want it to be. Now, that's all I got for you guys for tonight. Remember, again, I'm going to tell you one more time, we're going to be here 11:30, about 11:45 Eastern Standard Time tomorrow. Special shout out to Joe Jack, Aztec, Michael, Steven, OG Kicks, and Unc Andy. I really appreciate you guys for coming to the show. I want to thank you guys for coming to This and That. I'm your host, Xander, where we talk about this, that, and everything in between. And I will see you tomorrow night.
Higher ground. Used to chase validation, now I validate myself. network is my net worth. Choose your company wise. Surround yourself with eagles, not with sheep in disguise. Every interaction is a reflection of my brand. Quality over quantity, that's my personal command. I'm not landing on higher ground where excellence is found. My potential knows no bounds, raising the bar, breaking ground. I'm not just living, I'm manifesting my vision, cutting through limitations with surgical precision. My expectations are my compass, my respect is my shield to mediocrity and chaos. I will never I'm not just living, I'm manifesting my vision, cutting through limitations with surgical precision. My expectations are my compass, my respect is my shield to mediocrity and chaos. I will never yield.